This is finished.
The sound of Cambridgeshire. BBC Radio Cambridgeshire Sport.
Good afternoon. Welcome along to the show. The new season just around the corner. Cambridge United already in set for a third successive year of League One football, having beaten the drop in the most dramatic of circumstances back in May.
Lancaster stands it up. Smith back across the face, going in. Smith in off the far post. United 2-0 up and flying.
It's fair to say the U's rode their luck just a little bit on the final day of the season, and we're hoping that a few lessons have been learned for this time around. Mark Bonner says he's eager to get back down to it following the summer break.
Ultimately, last season was a success for us, but the order in which those games and results happened wasn't what you'd planned for at all. It's certainly not something we'll be planning to do at the start of the season. We want to try and be further along than that and have a season that's more in keeping with our first year at the level than last.
Well, the U's are rounding off their pre-season campaign at Barnet. Maybe it doesn't count for all that much, but so far through their pre-season schedule, the U's are unbeaten. We've got full commentary right here on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire from 3 o'clock in the company of Mark Johnson.
It's sometimes said the better the pre-season, the poorer the season proper will be. Well, that's a theory. Mind you, there used to be a theory about the Earth being flat. And look what happened to that idea. Having been unbeaten so far this summer then, United and Barnet will be hoping that old pre-season theory will be equally conclusively debunked once the campaign gets underway for real next weekend. But that's for the future. For now, it's the final dress rehearsal. It's the Bees against the U's at 3.
That's right, we are very close to the proper stuff getting underway. I'm Peter Swan and this is BBC Radio Cambridgeshire Sports.
The sound of Cambridgeshire. BBC Radio Cambridgeshire Sports.
It's always funny with the summer break, particularly given the drama of the final day. In some respects, it doesn't seem like 5 minutes since the U's were squeezing home that victory against Forest Green and, of course, the help they needed from elsewhere. We were all Burton fans on that day, of course, and when you saw the highlights afterwards, how Milton Keynes didn't get the goal they needed, they could scarcely have gone any closer. But in some respects, that feels like yesterday. But equally, it does seem quite a long time since the U's were last in action, and we've seen a lot going on at the Abbey Stadium. It was always going to be the case with so many players out of contract, but a number of familiar faces, key players from the past couple of seasons moving on, new players coming in, and whilst I would imagine the look and feel of Cambridge United at the start of this new season, it will still look and feel like a Mark Bonner side. There is that sense of just taking a step and moving away from one phase of his time as Cambridge United manager to a second phase. 81333 if you want to text us here on the programme. CAM is how you need to start your messages. At BBC Cam Sport is our address on Twitter and on WhatsApp. 08000 321 333. Now, I'm sure you'll be aware that the overall sound to BBC Radio Cambridgeshire Sport will be a little bit different this season. We'll have full commentary of every Cambridge United game and will be represented at every Peterborough United game. Sadly, though, no commentary of the Posh as the club have decided to go down a different route for this season. But as we've always done, we'll be back in the Posh. It will just sound a little bit different, and we'll have a chat with Nathan Olban in just a bit. He's at London Road, Posh taking on Birmingham. They've split their squad, so they've got a game against Birmingham at London Road and then another game against unnamed opponents, so we'll try and keep on top of everything that's taking place. Our commentary game, though, Cambridge United at Barnet, and for the final time, Mark Johnson, during pre-season, can you bring us the team news?
I'm worried when you say for the final time after that build-up, talking about our friends up the road. But yes, I'll cast that to one side and give you the team news. Yes, five new signings in the summer, 4 of whom starts, the other is on the bench. Jack Stevens in goal, back four, Liam Bennett at right back, Danny Andrew on the left, Ryan Bennett, Michael Morrison in the centre, George Thomas, Paul Digby, the axis of defensive midfielders, with James Brophy, Jack Lancaster, Sully KK in front, and Hassan Ahadme leads the line. I can give you the bench as well. I imagine there won't be a restriction on the number of changes used after the bench. And of course, when you have a microphone in front of you, facial recognition on your phone doesn't work. So the keeper, Will Mannion, is on the bench. Dhruva Lokadina, Zeno Rossi, Harrison Dunk, Lewis Simper, Jordan Cousins, Kay Yearn and Fajiri Okunabiri. So, as you would expect, strong lineup with lots and lots of competition.
Well, that is always the million-dollar question 1 week out from the start of the season. We go all the way through the warm-up fixtures and we tell ourselves, and it's not without merit, you look at the games and you think, well, it doesn't count for much. The players are just trying to get fit. It is all about getting the players in the right condition and a bit of tactical work on top, but you can't really judge that until you get to the final game. And of course, then you're looking at this starting 11 and saying, realistically, how close is it to the team that we'll see next weekend? And Jono, I don't know what you reckon, but I would say probably pretty close.
Fairly close, yeah, absolutely. There are a couple of slightly greyish areas, but only very, very, very faintly grey. This does look pretty much like how United will line up against Oxford next Saturday. But wasn't so many years ago, we would say at this stage, is this the strongest 11? Well, now there isn't such a thing. It's all going to be horses for courses, depending on the starting 11 for home to Oxford will be very different. Perhaps the shape would be different from the starting 11 away to Derby or away to Fleetwood, or a home to Dog and Duck 11 in the third round of the FA Cup. So it's very much you have your starting 11 for the next match rather than for the campaign as a whole. But it's interesting looking at it from the outside. You get the impression that results great. Mark Bonner's certainly looking for other things, and I am honoured to have used press officer Dan Branowski alongside me, who can also perhaps offer a thought on how things are shaped up pre-season.
Yeah, thank you, Jono. I think things have gone pretty well. Everybody knew that it was going to be a summer of serious change, and we lost a lot of players, a lot of good players and loyal servants to the football club. But I think you can already see that. You're looking now at the starting 11 and the bench. It's already looking pretty strong. We've only brought in, I think, 5 new players, but obviously all those players that we retained on contracts, crucially the likes of Bennett and Thomas, they're essentially like, whoa! Sorry, just as Simon Lancaster gets a football to the head right in front of me. It's already starting to look pretty strong. So I think that I'll expect... Well, put it this way, I think we hope to at least get one more in before the game against Oxford a week ago today. So we'll see how that goes next week. And, I imagine by the time we're done, there'll be at least another few additions. But I think there's a new energy about the team, and I think you can see it in the last few pre-season games. The game against Ipswich, the behind closed door one that we were at on Tuesday against Gillingham, and then hopefully more of it today. It's just brought a bit of a fresh impetus and bit of a new outlook on the team, which I think is what was needed, and I think the way that last season went was sort of evidence of that.
Dan,
Thanks,
can you
Dan.
tell us? Dan, can you just tell us a little bit about the blend with Kevin Betsy having come in, and then Barry Corr's job title? I don't know in the end how much these sorts of things really mean, but on the ground, from what you've seen, what is that working relationship like with Mark Bonner?
It's hard for me to say. I probably don't have the level of insight that you're hoping for on this one. But I think that essentially he didn't want a sort of traditional structure, having an assistant manager and somebody below him as a coach. And I think if things could have been sorted a little bit sooner, it would have all been announced almost at the same time when Kevin arrived, and this was always on the cards. It's not like we brought in Kevin as the assistant manager and then later on down the line Barry decided that he wanted to be on that same level. I think it was always the plan, but I think there was we needed to arrange probably some contractual type stuff first before any announcements were made. So I just think he views them as equal partners, his close confidants, and he wanted somebody fresh in the door, which is why obviously Gary left and why Kevin came in, and you've got 2 proper coaches now who can get about it and got a bit of fresh energy and youthfulness to them.
There you go, Jono. You can jump back in now.
No, I can't follow that.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, Dan, just about Kevin coming in, is that in some ways his CV and Mark Bonner's CV, there are quite a few parallels there, but in other ways there are really big differences. And do you think it's the differences that will have really appealed to Mark? I'm thinking around working in the Arsenal Academy, some of the ways in which Kevin seems to have set up sides in the past as well.
Yeah, I think so. And actually, when Kevin first joined, I sort of asked him a little bit about that, in the sense of, is it important that you and him have share the same sort of footballing philosophy? And he said, well, no, not really. He's there to sort of almost challenge Mark and to make him see things differently and to think differently about the game, which is what I think he will do. I think, Mark obviously wanted that sort of outside presence to come in and to sort of ask maybe questions about the way that we were doing things and what have you. So, yeah, I think definitely. I mean, obviously they've both got a sort of background in youth football, but youth football at very different levels. And so, yeah, I think that was definitely a big factor.
John, just to check in on the injuries, or to double check the injury situation, we've had the likes of Jordan Cousins and Zeno Rossi, who are a bit behind everybody else with their minutes, but is it still just the case? I think from what you're saying, it will be just Adam May and Brandon Hornstrup that are unavailable.
Yep, absolutely, and I think that's probably going to be it for a while. If all goes to plan, Adam May coming back probably mid to late September. Brandon Hornstrup is in a different category altogether. But in terms of how you want to start the season with everyone available, you're not far off.
I think it's it's a proper cliche, isn't it? But having only 2 players out injured, I think that is a pretty good return from pre-season. And goodness knows, as we saw last year, it can change very quickly. But this is a good starting position.
Absolutely right, and you always wince when one of your players goes down in pre-season anyway. That's a natural effect of years and years of watching any team, and all football supporters will think the same. You don't have to go back. Well, I suppose you do have to go back a few years now, when Lee Boylan was a striking hope for United in the non-league and got injured at St Neots, and everyone was panicking. It was almost like Wayne Rooney in World Cup metatarsals, but not quite in that category, but almost. If you sort of distill it down, in the end he was okay and did all right, thank you very much. But you always do wince when a player goes down in pre-season.
Yeah, and actually, just to jump in, sorry, Peter, I think actually a big part of our success this season is going to come down to our health. I think you look at some of the signings that we've brought in, and there has been a bit of an injury history to some of them, and we've obviously taken that sort of risk in getting a higher calibre player who has that record, versus not being able to, if they didn't have that history, then we probably wouldn't be able to bring in those type of players. So I think a lot of our success this year is going to come down to health, and if we can keep the majority of our players on the pitch for most of the season, I think we'll be okay.
I know I was rattling on about last season when it was all the dark winter months. United went into hibernation with some dreadful results, but it's no coincidence that was when the injuries bit in key areas all at the same time.
Yeah, and we're never going to have the biggest squad, are we? So it's always going to probably impact us maybe more than some of the bigger hitters in our league. So that's just we've just got to deal with that as being Cambridge United in League One.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, and I think Mark deserves a huge amount of credit here, because it would be easy to, I think, pivot in the opposite direction, where you've had a season where you've been really stung by injuries, actually to have that self-confidence, and it's a very Mark Bonner thing to do. Rather than worry about what's gone before, you look at the facts in front of you and you think, no, this is a good way to get a good calibre of player into the club, and I'm confident that we can look after them in the right way, while bearing in mind the risks that, somebody might be on the sidelines for a long period of time. But I think given what happened last season, what he's done this summer is really commendable, because it shows that real strength and belief in what you're doing.
It shows realism, it shows understanding of where United are as a football club and will be as a football club, and it shows, that the ball was right in December when there were a lot of voices calling for the trigger to be pulled, and Mark Bonner's still in place. He's got a stronger squad than last season. He's got a better squad, I think, than last season, and if they stay healthy, they'll finish a lot better than last season.
Am I to gather then from the thud and the air of surprise in Dan's voice that Simon Lancaster, club photographer, has already done you a bit of a favour, Dan? Has he saved you from being hit by a ball, or did he just take one to the head completely by accident?
No, he didn't quite save me because he's not quite sat in front of me. He's closer to Mark, to be fair. I mean,
oh, okay.
He is very, very close to us, and I think it was one of the goalkeeper's balls that came over it, and it really did just whack him on the head. He's done very well since, to be fair.
More importantly, it saved the kit.
Yeah.
Well, that is important. If only people knew how nervous we were about 20 minutes before coming on air. I don't know if we should say this in the circumstances, but quite genuinely, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Johnson plugged all of the equipment in at Barnet, and it's working brilliantly. But here's the catch: he doesn't know how he did it. So we hope it.
That's true.
We hope it will all continue to work.
There's an added layer of jeopardy as well. The benches slope quite alarmingly, and the kit is held in place quite literally by lashings of engineering tape.
But other than that, we're all good. What we'll do then,
fine, yeah.
What we'll do is we'll hear a little bit from Mark Bonner, then we'll go and check in on the posh. Dan, we'll let you go and do your press officer duties for a little while. If you're able to be back with us in about 15 minutes, that would be great. Otherwise, we'll just have a chat with Jono and see how we go. But it's Cambridge United at Barnet, final pre-season friendly. And the users we mentioned right at the top of the programme, for what it's worth, the U's are unbeaten so far during their pre-season campaign. So it would be quite nice to make it all the way through unbeaten. Let's catch up with Mark Bonner before we do anything else. So last season, proper roller coaster for Cambridge United, and none too surprisingly, Mark is hoping to avoid quite so much drama this time around.
There'll be some lessons that I've learnt from last season, and some of the players will have learnt, but the team will be a different team, so therefore it won't be so much of a thing for the team. What I think it does is, at the beginning of last season, and we obviously started brilliantly last season, that probably created a false impression that we were further along as a club and a team than we were, because we'd had a comfortable first season in the level and started brilliantly last season. And then this year we'll probably ground everyone and think, crikey, we were fortunate last kick of the last game to be in the league, and therefore the expectations probably shift a little bit, which is good for us because it takes a little bit of pressure off. It means we can go under the radar, which suits us, and we've got to really concentrate on putting a team together that can go and have a season more like the first season in the league than last season. And ultimately last season was a success for us, but the order in which those games and results happened wasn't what you'd planned for at all. The moment at the end was memorable and everyone's loved it, and it's been talked about and will be for years, but it's certainly not something we'll be planning to do at the start of the season. We want to try and be further along than that, and have a season that's more in keeping with our first year at the level than last.
And you touched upon the whole change element, and I think that becomes quite fascinating in that I think you mentioned it in one of your other interviews that you've done 3 and a bit years in the job and you're nudging towards the top 10 of longest serving managers in the Football League. So in a strange sort of way, with longevity, you're entering uncharted territory, and it becomes then about, as we see with clubs where managers are there for a long period of time, how you then manage that change. It's quite exciting, isn't it, just to be going down that route?
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting. It's probably uncharted territory for everybody else looking at it, but like every day is uncharted territory for me because I've never done it before. So every, first transfer window, first pre-season, first game of the season, took a year to play in front of crowds, first season with crowds, and so on. There's so many new points all the time, but for me, I think we've got an idea of where the end point is for this club, and it's a long way off from where we are now. And there's an ambition and investment and potential to go and keep improving year on year. And I think we're making some really good progress. Next year's a chance to do it a bit differently, and hopefully we can add to the squad and make it a team that can be really competitive and exciting to watch, but be a team that people connect with really quickly and continue to be really proud of, and give supporters as many memories as we can, because we've done that brilliantly in the last 3 years and we want to keep doing it.
So that's Mark Bonner. If you're only just joining us, Cambridge United at Barnet, final pre-season friendly. Starting 11 for the U. Summer signing Jack Stevens in goal. Liam Bennett right back. Ryan Bennett, Michael Morrison paired together in central defence. Danny Andrew at left back. So loads of experience in the defence this afternoon. Holding midfield, we're expecting George Thomas and Paul Digby, James Brophy, Suli Kaikai, who returned to the club earlier this week, and Jack Lancaster supporting Ghassan Ahadmi in attack. On the bench, Will Mannion is the backup goalkeeper, Jibril Okadina, Zeno Rossi, who's working his way back to full fitness, Jordan Cousins as well, Harrison Dunk, Lewis Simper, Kai Yearn and Fajiri Okanabire. No place in the squad this afternoon for Sekou Jana, and then Adam May, Brandon Horstrup we know about. They are both on the sidelines with injury. Full match commentary of the U's. Mark Johnson is at the Hive for us. Jono, let's just pick up on the subject of expectations. What do you reckon for Cambridge United this season with expectations?
That's a very good question, actually. I'm expecting a better season than last season. I'm expecting it not to go to the last game. I'm expecting United to compete in the second tier of the two-tiered division, because it is very much a two-tiered division with the haves and the don't have quite so muches. So I expect United to punch above their weight and to be lower mid-table.
If we look at the players that have come in, I think there's a really solid argument to say that if you look at the profile, it's very Mark Bonner and Ben Strang, in the sense that we've got a group of players, by and large, each of them with a point to prove in one way or another, which is the sort of profile that Mark has tended to look at. Where there's a difference, and he's touched upon this himself with a number of his comments, is quite obvious that the U's have been looking at experience. Jack Stevens 25, Danny Andrews 31, Cousins is 27, Suli Kaikai's 27. That is no coincidence.
No, it's not. I think that injection of experience is very much needed. And when United were down to bare bones last winter, it was that experience that wasn't there, and they weren't able to get through those difficult positions. And you can only get experience by playing over a number of years, by managing over a number of years, and anyone who played will have gained experience from last season. But to actually build a more experienced spine to the side, I think is a huge thing for the U's for next season. I think it will be the difference between competing in a sensible position in League One than looking over your shoulder worrying about League Two.
We were talking with Dan about Kevin Betsy having come into the club, and the relative backgrounds, Mark Bonner and Kevin, the skill sets as well, and how that, I suppose what you're then beginning to look at is how will this play into the U's style for this season, where you've got some very different ideas being thrown into the mix. We saw last time around that Mark was keen to try and remould the style slightly. In the end, for a whole variety of reasons, the successful final part of the season was really Cambridge United just doing what Cambridge United had done well under Mark for a number of seasons. But how do you see all of that panning out this time around?
I think it'll be more like a variation on the successful theme. So when he first came in, United was struggling in League Two, so it feels like a lifetime ago. And what he did, it was back to basics. We'll have the two solid lines of four, and then look to soak up and hit on the counter-attack. He tweaked that as the months progressed, and settled in the end for either a three at the back or more regularly a three behind a lone striker, and they look much more solid like that. They look more comfortable. It was the old-fashioned, almost, now I don't really want to compare the two, it was almost like what Sean Derry was trying to do away from home with the U's when he had a really successful period of away games. So it was solid at the back and looked to frustrate the opponents and be lethal and quick going forward. Now it's a variation on that. Okay, it's not as, because that simply doesn't work at home, so you need to be able to make the play when you're able to. So having people in a deeper role, and I think this is particularly where someone like George Thomas is going to come into his own, helping Paul Digby be Paul Digby by having that freedom to go forward and play the killer pass from George Thomas, so Digby can concentrate on what he does best. So that combination looks like a better balance for me, and it means that United as a result, I think, will be better balanced between frustrating the opponents and frustrating the their own fans, which happened at times, and having that ability to kick on and find a threaded pass. They'll never find another Wes Hoolahan because he can't, and United shouldn't even attempt to, but they need that sort of player who can play a Wesleyan pass from midfield without quite having the same swagger and ability.
Talking of Wes Hoolahan and Jack Lancaster, I think to a greater or lesser degree, I don't want to use the phrase heir to Wes because you've just made the point that would be a thankless task for anyone, but could this season be the breakthrough season for Jack? Did we see enough over the final part of last season to think this could be the year where he really delivers on? He's got that undoubted promise, he's just got to hook it all together.
Yes, I think it could be. What happened, and it was a clever bit of man management from the United coaching staff, towards the end of the campaign they extended his contract, put an arm round his shoulders and said, as if to say, you're safe and secure here, go and do what you can do without worrying what's going to happen next. And from that point on, he was the player United signed, and actually from what I've seen of him in pre-season, he's still that player rather than little boy lost as he looked before that contract was signed. Superb bit of business from United.
Yeah, it could be really exciting and brilliant man management, really, I would imagine. Probably a combination of Mark Bonner and Ben Strang working together there, but pitching that one spot on. Let's do some text tweets, WhatsApp messages. Andy in Histon, afternoon to you. Andy says, we still look very light on goal scoring options. Ahadmi has scored a total of 7 career league goals to date. That is a lot of pressure on a young player. Sam says, if we can find a way to get Conor McGrandles back on board, we need to do it. He appears unwanted at Charlton. Wages could be a problem. There must be some way of getting him back to the club. And Mikey says, Jack Stevens in goal is a worry for me. He's had a patchy record over recent seasons. I know Mark Bonner likes to polish up rough diamonds, but it looks as though Stevens might be a step too far. Well, I think, Mikey, you've answered your own question to a degree there. Mark is prepared to take that risk and take a player who's had very strong form at certain points in his career, perhaps not so much of late, but you're backing yourself to get the best out of him. Jono, in the press box of Barnet, has anybody else been hit by a ball recently?
Not recently, but my covering photographer has run away now to lick his wounds, I think, and in fact at the moment he's got what looks like an old-fashioned hood that the old Victorian photographers put over the top when they had the watch the birdie type camera. I don't think it's quite that sort of thing, but that's what it looks like at the moment from here.
You'd imagine really that's just an occupational hazard of being a photographer, that given where you stand, the ball's going to hit you.
Can I go back to Ahadmi?
Yes.
Whoever's saying, he's got 9 league goals? Well, he's got third of them at the Abbey Stadium. So if he carries on at that rate, it'll be a fantastic signing. I agree. Goals are probably look like being the issue at the moment, but the year United went up, goals were an issue. Paul Mullen, untried, didn't have a lot of goals in him. Joe Ironside didn't have a lot of goals in him, scored a lot the following season. The year after that, we thought, Ironside's still there, we've got Sam Smith back, goals won't be a problem, and they were. So I'm probably happier going into a season thinking goals are going to be a problem.
Yes, as we've said so many times on this programme, there's a real challenge for clubs with smaller budgets at League One level, at any level, getting the strikers in, because of course scouting a striker is relatively easy. You just look at their goal scoring record. It's harder to dig yourself up a gem. I think the U's have done really well with Ahadmi, and again, much like the comments around Jack Stevens as goalkeeper, if you're Cambridge United, you're not going to sign a player where there isn't some sort of string attached somewhere or other. To get the quality that you need in, you have that associated element of gamble with so many players, and I guess Ahadmi fits into that category. John, we'll be back with you in just a moment or two. If you're only just joining us, the starting 11 for Cambridge United at Barnet: Jack Stevens in goal, Liam Bennett, Ryan Bennett, Michael Morrison, Danny Andrew making up the defence, George Thomas, Paul Digby holding midfield. That's what we're expecting, with James Brophy, Jack Lancaster, Sudi Kaikai supporting Ghassan Ahadmi in attack. And very pleasing, if you're a fan of traditional squad numbers and players playing in the correct position and going from 1 to 11. Cambridge United this afternoon, not quite perfect, as Kai is 14 and Ahadmi's 23, but not far off. That's a good way to start the season. On the subs bench, Will Mannion, Jibril Okadina, Zeno Rossi, Harrison Dunk, Lewis Simper, Jordan Cousins, Kai Yearn and Fajiri Okunabire. No Sekou Jana involved in the squad today. We'll try and clear that one up in just a bit. It may well be that Dan can help us with that in a moment or two, with Adam May and Brandon Hornstrup, of course, both on the sidelines owing to injury. It's BBC Radio Cambridge, a full match commentary of Cambridge United coming your way in about 15 minutes' time. We'll be with the Posh as well. Jono, I mentioned it a little earlier on that George Thomas, I think, is a player who is going to provide a little bit of flexibility, and it looks as though you would probably remember this better than me, but I don't think he spent an awful lot of time playing deeper in midfield last season. But if it's a position he can crack, suddenly, if Adam May can get fit, that will become an interesting selection dilemma. Jordan Cousins in the mix as well. That suddenly looks like a part of the pitch that is really so much stronger than last season.
Yeah, I think once you put Jordan Cousins in the equation, it's settled that area. It really is a lot of competition. George Thomas has played much, if not all, of pre-season in that slightly deeper role, and he looks very much at home in it. And as I say, what United have been looking for some time is someone to allow Paul Digby to be Paul Digby, because he struggled at times last season when he was almost doing two people's job, trying to sit in front of the back four and provide a bit of impetus to the four in front of him. So getting that player alongside him, and incidentally I think Jordan Cousins, if they can get him and keep him fit, will be another really impressive signing. Absolutely strong as an ox he'll be. It just means that it's all bar that lone striker, I think, that's pretty much nailed down at the moment, or at least where there's an awful lot of competition. I still think that would the final number 9 role, if you like, will morph, I think, as the campaign gets underway. But I think that's the one area for me that hasn't quite settled yet.
Yeah, you look through all of the other positions, and right back we could maybe have a debate, but we've heard Mark giving his reasons as to what the U's are doing there. In every other position, aside from maybe right wing, the U's looked quite well stocked, and goodness knows it can soon change when you start to get injuries, but for a club of Cambridge United's size and the sort of budget the U's will be working with, I think they're pretty reasonably stocked in every other position, aside from, as you say, needing another centre forward.
And I think that top end would take care of itself once either one or both of Ahadmi and Okunabire get amongst the goals. If that happens, then the picture looks very, very different, and you bring another striker and you think, why? Where are they going to get in?
Well, this is always the difficulty, isn't it?
Well, you don't sign players for the EFL trophy, do you?
Not unless you've got a lot of money and you're very keen to win it, perhaps. As we said previously, one of the key things for the U's at this stage of pre-season, it's the same for the Posh as well, but to have so many players fit and ready to go is just massive, isn't it? Realistically, that's all you get to this stage of pre-season. That is the thing you want.
Well, it's the whole point of pre-season, isn't it? Fit, match fit, and ready to go. You've done all your planning, you're working on shapes, you're getting your minutes into players. This is the last chance, and then it has to be right on a week today. And if it's not quite, another game comes around quickly. But this is what it's all been leading down to. This is, if you can have a pointy end of pre-season, this is the pointy end.
That's right. We're at the pointy end, and full match commentary. Cambridge United at Barnet coming your way in just a second.
The sound of Cambridgeshire. BBC Radio Cambridgeshire Sports.
We're all looking forward to another season of League One football following that remarkable final day of last season. The U's beating Forest Green 2-0 and getting a bit of vital help from elsewhere.
United in a line on the penalty spot. Deep cross, far post, keeper comes, doesn't get there, it's in! United in front, it was smuggled over the line, and it was Harrison Dunk again! Dunk at the far post, 25 minutes gone, United in front.
This time next weekend, the U's will be playing host to Oxford at the Abbey, and we're all hoping that the upcoming season will be a little more comfortable than last time around. Mark Bonner says as a whole club, the U's are determined to keep on improving and progressing.
I think we've got an idea of where the end point is for this club, and it's a long way off from where we are now. And there's an ambition and investment and potential to go and keep improving and make it a team that can be really competitive and exciting to watch, but be a team that people connect with really quickly and continue to be really proud of and give supporters as many memories as we can.
We've got commentary across all frequencies: 96 FM, 95.7 FM, DAB Digital, Freeview Channel 722 on your television, and your commentator is Mark Johnson.
It's been an interesting pre-season, good tests and decent results, which might or might not mean anything once it all starts for real next Saturday. The final test is another good one against a Barnet side that will be looking to build on last season's campaign, which saw them finish in the National League playoffs. So pull up a chair, put the kettle on and settle in for what might be the last truly relaxing weekend until next May. Kickoff's coming up.
He's not joking, ladies and gentlemen. There probably is a chance. We'll keep you up to date with the Posh against Birmingham as well. It's BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. Let's get down to it.
The sound of Cambridgeshire. BBC Radio Cambridgeshire Sport.
So welcome to a blustery Hive where the sun shining sporadically, the wind blowing incessantly, and United in their snazzy away kit of all white with black and amber detailing will kick off. Will defend the end away from my right, where a decent number of the Amber Nation have made the trip. Jack Stevens in goal, Liam Bennett right back, Danny Andrew left, Ryan Bennett, Michael Morrison in the middle, George Thomas, Paul Digby in the centre as we get underway, James Brophy, Jack Lancaster, Saleh KK behind, Ghassan Ahadme. Barnet are in amber and black stripes, black shorts and socks. We'll look at their lineup as we get underway. Paul Digby and Ryan Bennett tidying up for United. Ball forward to Ahadme. Little turn in midfield. Pritchard just for Barnet almost caught in possession, but he's done well. Gorman will thread it through. He'll continue his run. He'll put it wide to Hall Johnson on the right-hand side. And he'll look to deliver a good whip cross, and it's nodded away emphatically by Michael Morrison for a throw, maybe a corner. A throw it will be to Barnet, to have former U's-man Laurie Walker in goal. Reece Hall-Johnson, right wing-back. Former U's-man Ben Coker, left wing-back. Finlay Ponter, Danny Collins in the middle. Adibola Awolu in the middle, in the centre of defence as well. So five at the back. Wingers, Sam Barrett, Idris Kanu, Dale Gorman, Harry Pritchard behind. Nick Kabamba, who scored a lot of goals last season. Now Kanu on the right-hand side. Runs into KK, who puts it out for a corner to United, who will to Barnet, and United will be expecting a decent workout today.
Yeah, I think so. I think that they've picked the opponents well this pre-season, and I think that we're ending it with a game which, you know, we'd expect to do well in, but we'd expect to also be thoroughly tested. How good team they are.
There's Dan Branowski alongside me, as all the gaffer tape's hiding where I can turn the effects mic down a little bit. Apologies for that. You should see someone technical try and build it. Corner then, whipped in low towards the near post. KK at the near post does his job and smuggles it away again for another corner to Barnet. In front of a big news stand, or news since United were here last. Amber seats with a couple of stripes of black along them behind the goal. The other end is more like Lewis than Barnet used to be, for those who remember that ground. Built in a hollow with grass behind it. Presumably work underway to get the rest of it to match the rest of the impressive ground. Corner right-footed, be swung in by Gorman in towards the near post. Again, KK at the near post gets it half away, but only half cleared. Kanu will get it back towards the right-hand side. Hall Johnson sweeps it across, and it's launched forward by Coker, looking for the flick on and getting it as well from Barrett, but he's quickly closed down. United doing well there. Brophy involved. Kabamba trying to smuggle it away, and in the end there's enough Hughes men back there to force it out for the throw to Cambridge United. New away kit, Dan Branowski, I must mention this. It's I've seen some terrible kits in my time. This isn't one of them.
Oh, I think it's a beauty. I love an all-white kit. I know my colleague Gareth Daniels worked worked really hard on it and is really pleased with it. Sales have been fantastic, and it's great to see it out there for the first time today.
Bit of detailing for younger people, but
yes,
I'm sure it'll be snapped up in vast numbers as the ball all the way back. Coker goes all the way back to Walker, chased down by James Brophy. Walker smacks it away, height, distance and carry, nodded away by Morrison, the used skipper. Watched it well. He's got the armband on for this season. It was almost like when he was signed, he almost had it tattooed underneath his shirt anyway, so he's a natural captain. There's Barnet building just outside the area, a little back flick, well read by Digby, and Thomas will get it forward to KK, who will look to spring it away. Ahadme checking his run on the left hand side. Now he's put in, defenders with him to lay off to KK, who will try and take on his man. Can't do so, but he can find a calm pass back. Danny Andrew, and it's worked forward again. Here's KK, runs into traffic, and Barnet will clear the lines over halfway and will chase it down, and Danny Andrew with an emphatic challenge to ease his man into touch and win the throw. Proper professional left back challenge.
Yeah, I think he probably got away with that one a little bit there. It was a bit of a shove, wasn't it? But the linesman's not interested and got away with it. That's what, experience, how to get away with those type of...
Linesman was better angle than we were, I think, Dan, so he saw it for what it was.
Possibly you're right, yeah.
Or possibly not. It is a throw. Andrew to take down the left hand side. Ahadme in a early pulling and shoving on shirts. So Digby works it across. Here on the right hand side, Liam Bennett. Brophy on a decoy run. Now he's put in 10 yards outside the box, wide on the right hand side, back wide to Bennett, who continued his run, but his run was a little arcing and did allow defender to get in and smuggle it away for a throw to United. 4 minutes in, Barnet 0, Cambridge United 0. BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. There's the ball back into used territory, and Ryan Bennett will give a touch back to Jack Stevens in a blue kit with some snazzy bits on. Goalkeeping kits this year do remind me of Columbia World Cup kits from the 1980s, in good and bad ways. As the U's go wide towards the right hand side, with Bennett again looking to work it forward. You'll certainly spot the keepers this year, Dan.
Yeah, it's nice actually that the keepers get their own bespoke shirts for once. For many years now they've just had this sort of templated, luminous, two-coloured kits, whereas they get something much more bespoke this year, which is one for all the goalkeepers out there who maybe their kits don't normally get the same amount of attention as the home and away, do they? I'm
sure they were a lot short sleeve when they first arrived as well.
Yeah.
Has the kit man been stitching busily?
I think is that a long sleeve top, or has he got...
You've got younger eyes than me, so I'll believe you.
I know that we're selling them in the shop as short sleeved because I think it's probably just a more popular fit, if you like, for retail.
So United going forward on the right hand side. Here ends today's commercial. Dan Branowski, used press officer, doing his bit. He won't need to be hacked down by the marketing manager now. United with a throw over on that right hand side. In fact, it's a free kick because Bennett was fouled. He goes back to Bennett. Liam to Ryan. There is Stevens just teasing Pritchard, who felt like going for it and then gone down clutching his foot as if he's picked up a bit of cramp. I think he has actually. He's been injured trying to close down Jack Stevens, whose twinkled toes took the ball away from him.
You don't want to get juked out by a goalkeeper like that and injure yourself. That's
It looks like a proper injury as well, rather than all the keepers made me look silly, so I'm going to go down injured. This looks like a proper one. Turned his ankle, I think. Yeah. He's hobbling away. It's an unusual one. There's been a goal in the other game we're featuring. Peterborough in action against Birmingham City. Nathan.
It's Peterborough 1, Birmingham 0. Clark Harris dropping the ball off to Joel Roundel in midfield. Played in Mason Clark down the left-hand side. His shot, tight angle, deflected off the keeper, but Kwame Poku was there to head in on the goal line. For Birmingham, Dembele has had a chance at the other end, but his shot kept out by Bilokovic. Birmingham 1, Peterborough 1, Birmingham 0.
Thanks, Nathan. Still 8 minutes in. It's Barnet 0, Cambridge United 0. Reece Hall-Johnson's just gone down after being out-muscled by Soleil KK. He's gone down clutching his midriff, rather. There wasn't too much in it. United have the free kick. And the Barnet man will need a little bit of treatment, actually, but Kaiko was just too strong for him.
Yeah, I think he's... I think already you've only seen him play a game and, 5 minutes or so, but you can see why fans were so excited to see him return to the club. I think he's going to add so much to the team in those sort of wide attacking areas. That was for me the area which we needed to address most. Still potentially need to add somebody else in that sort of area, but I think when you got him and Brophy on either side now, I think that adds a lot of threat.
They're natural inverse wingers, if you like, because Kaikai is a right-footed left winger, isn't he?
Yeah, but they can play. They can do both, can't they? I mean, we saw Brophy for much of the end of last season playing that inverted role, and actually I thought he did really well doing there, sort of bringing players inside, allowing people to run on the overlap, but likewise they can both sort of play and hug the touchline if we need them to.
I think the key here is Liam Bennett, because of his growing experience and ability at right back. He's got that protection from James Brophy, but they can both do their thing.
Yeah, well, if Brophy's on that side, he can come inside, and then you've got the overlapping run of Bennett, which is going to be a huge threat, isn't it? I mean, it's a huge year for Bennett. I mean, I think everybody's really excited to see how he does a full season under his belt.
Andrew with a free kick over halfway towards the edge of the area, picked up by Brophy, looking to lay it off. Kaikai ridden to the ground, free kick to the U's, 15 yards outside the box. Fairly central, we're in at a low angle, so distance is not the easiest to pick from here, but 15 yards outside the area ish. Danny Andrew territory, you'd think. He was signed, and it was mentioned by Fleetwood that he's a free kick specialist. Well, this is very much his territory. Wins against him ish is a bit of a crosswind.
Well, just what we were talking about, the sort of wide areas, I think with him as an addition as well, it makes it almost, could be potentially a position of strength, just as I say.
And he decoys everyone and puts it wide to Bennett on the right hand side, who does deliver a good cross in. Ryan Bennett got a bit shove in the back. Play continues. KK will look to get to the byline, held off by Hall Johnson, who saw him off with a bit of ease and sees him into touch for the goal kick. But that teaches for bigging up Danny Andrew and his free kick ability.
Yeah, I mean, I think the point I was trying to make was, though, you got Bennett on one side, Andrew on the other, and then Kaikai and Brophy on either side. All of a sudden, those wide areas are looking, really sort of threatening in an attacking sense.
And when you've got your three behind a lone striker, it can be a bit narrow sometimes, can't it? So you need your width. Those little nibble in the middle of the park from Jack Lancaster brings down Pritchard, and that will be a free kick just on the halfway line. It's 0-0. 10 minutes in. It's not the liveliest pre-season we've seen, but it's pre-season. As the free kick drilled out wide, really good one as well. Pick out Coker on the left-hand side, bit of support behind him. He'll look to try and deliver it, rolls it in. Ball goes wide again towards that far side. Barrett's there. He'll look for a bit of mischief. Midway inside United territory as Ford, Wanda, Barnet. Barrett on the overlap. He's got two in the middle. Cross comes in off the head of Liam Bennett, who from a distance guided it perfectly into the low grabbing arms of Jack Stevens. And a tidy piece of defending, which wouldn't necessarily have mattered as the flag went up initially actually to allow Reece Hall Johnson back onto the field, who's been patched up for Barnet. 0-0 as Hadmi holds off his man for the U's. Ball headed straight up in the air by Collins. Keeper comes to gather, clad in green, and Laurie Walker will gain that. And Barnet back in possession under lowering grey skies at one end of the field. A bit more fluffy at the other. Still 0-0 as Danny Andrew wins his header on halfway and finds touch midway inside the Barnet half. 0-0. 12 minutes gone. BBC Radio Cambridgeshire on the last Saturday before the start of the season. Felt like saying the last Saturday before Christmas, because that's almost how it's like for football fans.
It is. The summer goes quick, though. It does go quick, and all of a sudden we're here again. And personally, from a club point of view, there's a lot of work to do within the next week. It always comes around quick, and you still always got too much to do. But no, everyone's really looking forward to it.
There's Thomas with a pass back, and Ryan Bennett will find Liam Bennett on the right hand side. It's 0-0. Dan Branowski, who's press officer, alongside me. It's long ball followed down that far side, and James Brophy got the better of his man, who just dragged him down. I think Brophy appeared as if by magic, using a lot of pace to get the wrong side of the Barnet man, who was almost embarrassed by being caught out that way. Pulls his man down, used with a corner, with a free kick close to the corner flag. over on that right-hand side. It's almost like a short corner. It's perhaps a yard from the quadrant almost. It will be Andrew to take the free kick, left-footed in, swinging. Plenty forward for the U's. In it comes now, looking for the flick of the near post. Ryan Bennett nearly got there, and the referee spotted something in the penalty area. One of those is always given, often I think, for just too many people in the penalty area.
Yeah, it was a great delivery from Andrew though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
See the quality.
Barnet on the counter-attack, held off by Ryan Bennett. They want it across towards Kabamba on this right-hand side, sitting deep, 10 yards outside the area. He's got a man on the overlap in Danny Collins, who runs into Danny Andrew and checks his progress for a while. Hadme defends from the front, and the ball will have to go all the way back to the Barnet keeper. Good work from United. It is still 0-0. There's the ball over the top, looking to run of Khan, who's trying to get the wrong side of Andrew, judged the win the better, then hoiks it straight up into the air, and the keeper will come and collect it. But it's a capricious breeze already. The season's barely started. It's Thomas with the ball forward, pings it into Lancaster, who turns and tries to play in KK, who's held off by Collins, who gets the ball back to his keeper. But a lovely insightful pass by Lancaster. Barnet on the counter, but that's easily dealt with by a brace of Bennett's, and Liam cuts away from his man and plays it in to Adhami over the halfway line, and he'll get it back. Bennett tiptoeing his way down the line. Muscular run now. He's got Brophy on the overlap, might eschew that option. In the end, runs into a pair of Barnet defenders, loses the ball, wins it back. It's picked up once more, trotting forward is Digby. Digby looks return pass into the area, and Hadme couldn't quite release him, and in the end leans into his man, and Barnet will have the free kick on the edge of their own area. But Dan, having someone like Thomas alongside Digby does allow that marauding run every so often.
Yeah, it does. It's been interesting, hasn't it, seeing Thomas play that deeper role. He's playing higher up in the pitch, obviously, last season, but seems to fit into it really well, and it just adds another level of drive into that midfield area. And I think whereas last season it was a sort of an area of weakness, especially with the injuries that we had, I think now, especially once we get Adam May fit, and you've got May, you've got Thomas, Digby, Cousins as well, who's still to come in. I think all of a sudden there's a position of strength, and I can't imagine that we'd be looking to add any more to that central midfield area now. I mean, there's 4 experienced players, so yeah, I think we're well set in that position.
Cousins, I saw him midweek against Gillingham. He looked like Patrick Vieira at times.
He's going to
be good when he's fit.
He's going to be really good when he's fit. I was looking forward to seeing him.
As Stevens with a clearance for the U's. There's been another goal in other match, Peterborough against Birmingham. We'll bring you that in a minute, but Barnet in possession, clipping it wide towards this right-hand side. Danny Andrew will pick it up for United. Kai holds off his man well. Andrew with the ball down the line, into touch, because perhaps he wants to know what's happening in the other game, and Nathan Alban will tell us.
Yeah, just a quarter of an hour gone, and it's Posh 3, Birmingham 0. The first one, Mason Clark, was fed by Archie Collins, edge of the penalty area, just left of centre. He swung his right boot at it, and the former Premier League goalie John Ruddy was at full stretch, but Mason Clark's shot went in off the inside of the near post. And then the third goal, a simple cross from the left, edge of the box, Kiprianu side-footed it into the top corner. Posh 3, Birmingham 0.
Thanks, Nathan. Still 0-0. United going forward just outside the area. Been forced back. Danny Andrew will pick it up here at Barnet. Last pre-season. Andrew again will go wide, looking for Kai on the left-hand side. Ball back towards the halfway line. Using all white, attacking from right to left. Goalless. Adhami brings the ball down his chest. It's just held at bay, though. Strong, fair challenge by Aluwu. And Barnet back in possession. And look to drive it away. They're playing basically a 5-4-1 shape, which will give some interesting tests for United. Good one as well, to see if they can break down opponents who want to sit strong at the back, and United get a free kick and hit United on the counter-attack. So this is not quite two sides matching each other in ambition, in style and ambition, but a different test for United. It'll be a good one. There's a ball wide towards Brophy on the right-hand side. Over halfway. Brings it in field. Gets it back from Lancaster and sets him away again down the right-hand side. Defender comes across. Should be able to see it off. And ease because Jack Lancaster found him. Free kick to Barnet. 18 minutes in. Still goalless. As the sun breaks through again. Casting its warm rays. So it's a strange sort of, feels like September, the last knockings of summer. Warmth in the sun, but an underlying capriciousness about the breeze. There's the long clearance forward down that right hand side. Gets the head on as well from Kambamba. United winning it back though. Thomas will get it away. Hadmi just tried to roll away from his man, but Aluwu spotted it well and volleyed the ball into touch for a throw to Barnet. Who had a good campaign last year.
Yeah, from an outside, the sort of surprisingly good campaign when you look at the previous couple of years that they had, but they obviously found something that worked for them to have finished in the playoffs, and such a competitive National League is definitely a credit to them.
Drew a lot towards the end of the season, which kind of messed up the end of their campaign. That conceded rather too many goals, but I suppose if you're in games that end 7-5 as they were against Wrexham, as a lot of teams were, that'll always rather skew the goal difference one way or another. As United back in possession with Andrew, goes back to his keeper, he'll be closed down, but it's got time to volley it away securely. Plenty of distance on that one. Hadmate just out-muscled by 2, and the ball cleared long again, but there is the calm head of Danny Andrew again to nod it back to his keeper. 20 minutes in, it's goalless. No chances yet for either side, as Andrew on the left hand side, but he's been pressed, quite a high press, Barnet at the moment. Hughes will clear long. Hadmi was offside, but a poor defensive header allows him to try and challenge for it, which was okay until he backed his man off the ball. Collins fell over, and United concede the free kick. Correctly given by the referee, who is Connor Griffin, clad in traditional black today, the referee. As the wind rustles the paper on the press box. Benches, all at a jaunty angle, which makes life interesting. As the long ball goes forward and easily dealt with by Liam Bennett. 20 minutes in, United with, I was going to say a strong side, but it should go without saying at this point of pre-season. It will be a strong side against a Barnet side who also kick off their campaign next weekend against Hartlepool. Who's of course start next Saturday at home to Oxford. As Jack Stevens, late of Oxford, clears for the U's from the goal kick. Looking for the flick on, getting it as well from Ahadme. Chase for Brophy, defender would be there, and get it back to the keeper. Walker, the Barnet keeper, had to get rid of it fairly quickly. Hughes winning it back on the halfway line, then losing out. But a well-timed challenge from Ryan Bennett intercepts. Ball goes long and will catch at least one offside. For now, Idris Kanu will be the one man flagged. It could have been one of about 3. Offside trap on the line, held strong for the U's. Approaching the midway point of this first half here on BBC Radio Cambridge. It's Barnet 0, Cambridge United 0. Linesman watches, flagging as the wind does the work on his flag. Saves him having to do anything. And United with that free kick midway inside their own half. Jack Stevens will roll it forward half a yard or so and then launch it away right-footed towards the edge of the area, looking for Ahadme, who's offside. Interesting delivery. Ahadme was causing a few problems there, but the flag was up instantly, and as the linesman's in good position, and I'm not, I'm sure he was right. Walker with the long clearance, that's keeper to keeper. Wind's making it a bit difficult, Dan Borowski.
Yeah, there's not a huge amount of control in the game, really, is there? I'd say that we probably had more of the possession, but not a huge amount to get excited about so far, I must admit.
That empty end away to our left as well will allow the wind to whip through. Ball goes through to Stevens, who bowls it out in an instant. And United with Andrew will run past one, holds off his man. Ball in field where Harmy was held off, and it's come along down this right hand side to Barrett. Barrett on the ground, he's got support from Hall Johnson behind him, just from the corner of the box. Going back towards Gorman, wide again it goes, towards this deep cross, and stealing into the far post. It comes again off against the far post. Hughes haven't cleared their lines yet. Now they have, and it goes away for the corner. The ball swirled in. Barrett's cross from the left-hand side, curled and beyond Kabamba in the middle, beyond Stevens, the keeper, caressed the bar, and Barnet unable to poke it home. United able to smuggle it behind for a corner. First real moment of concern for either team.
Yeah, it was just a brilliant ball from Barrett, wasn't it? It was one of those crosses where if somebody got a touch, it would have been in, and even if somebody didn't get a touch, it hit the post and almost did go in. So just a brilliant delivery that caused chaos there.
Corner, left-footed out, swinging into the mix, deep towards that far side. Gorman climbs well, and it's forced in, but the flag's up for offside. It was Collins rather with a header. It was a good downward header.
No, the goal's counted.
Flag went up initially. The referee had a look at it, and it does go in. It went through a crowd seat on the line. Danny Collins putting the ball ahead in from a corner. United not dealing with it, and behind. 24 minutes in, Barnet 1, Cambridge United 0.
Yeah, they'll feel they deserve that after having just hit the post a minute later, so you wouldn't want to really be conceding set-piece goals like that, but it was a good header and he's got to come back from behind.
It was a decent header as well, but it went through a crowd close to the line. It went a long way to find him as well. United would be...
Yeah, and I would say that with our centre-backs, you wouldn't expect that, would you? No.
So, Barnet unbeaten in their pre-season. Hughes unbeaten in their pre-season. Barnet leading by a goal to 0. There's a ball forward to 10 yards outside the box. Lancaster runs into a crowd. A long ball forward, and there's Morrison with the ball back to the keeper. And Stevens, who was caught out, I think, by the breeze with that initial cross that came back off the post. Unable to get anywhere near the corner. Downward header from Collins. Barnet in front. United with work to do. There's that right hand side as Liam Bennett gets it forward to Ahadme. He's got Kai edge of the area, left hand side. He'll look to dance his way into the area. Tries the left footed shot, that's charged down and pings away for a throw to United. Almost level with the edge of the area, left hand side. Danny Andrew comes across to take. He's got some good movement. Paul Digby provides some. Goes a little longer to Kai, back towards the left hand side. Andrew closed down, forced a long way back, and he'll have to go back into his own half. Ryan Bennett will take it all the way back and then block off Idris Kanu. Make sure he can't get a run at the ball. Long clearance from the Hughes keeper, over halfway, but will come back. United not really with much in the way of control at the moment, as Thomas runs into trouble, loses the ball, and it's forward again. Edge of the area, flag goes up against the dangerous Sam Barrett. United's line held well there, but there does look to be mischief in the Barnet front line. They've got a lone striker and 4 who will join. 2 wide men, particularly on either side. It's unusual to play the 4 in midfield, including 2 wingers plus 2 wing backs. But it's a system that's working for them, and they do lead by a goal to 0. United not close to an answer yet. As a long clearance forward, looking for the flick on, might run towards Brophy, traces it down into the area. Good turn, defensive work by Coker. Lancaster's there to keep him pinned in, but Barnet escaped well. Digby will pick it up, bit of support behind him. Initially Bennett tries to get it forward, and then as Brophy gets there, he gets a rap on the back of the knee, goes to ground, gets the free kick, and a yellow card issued.
That is trademark Dale Gorman. I mean, I've known him for quite a while. He was came through the academy at my previous club I worked for, and yeah, he likes to give a kick out in midfield.
Second yellow card I've seen in this pre-season. The other one went to Paul Digby at St Albans.
Yeah.
Standing up for his teammates, I believe, at the time. Free kick into the area it goes. Breeze picks up again, little nod down into the box, comes back as far as Morrison and hits Morrison and goes out for the goal kick. Considered look from Mark Bonner on the edge of his technical area. Sits on the cool box. Get a better view. Not sure he'll be too pleased with what he's seen so far. Hughes do trail by Collins, goal to 0. Barnet in front on 24 minutes from a corner. Walker, who has yet to be tested, the Barnet keeper, launches away. Morrison powerfully nods it away and out for the throw on the halfway line. Hughes in all white, Barnet in black and amber striped shirts, black shorts and socks. Proving that if you've got stripes you can have clear numbers as well. They tick that box. There's the ball down the line. Andrew flicks off the top of his head, and Barnet will have another corner, which United will be aiming to defend a tad better than they did the last one. As Gorman comes across to take. The train, an underground train, wanders past overground in the gap between the stands opposite. The corner right-footed, out swinging, everyone back in the area for the U's. It's delivered in low again, looking for the flick and gets it as well. It almost creeps in and thumped home at the far post, is it? It is. Poor defending again. Little flick on. I think it was Aluwu may have got the flick at the far post to turn it in. It was a flick at the near post by Pritchard. It was abysmal defending by United. And Aluwu was one of several at the far post available to stab it home. Used 2-0 down, half an hour gone.
Yeah, that flick from Pritchard just caught everybody out there, didn't it? It looped over towards the back post and, like you said, wasn't dealt with very well and stabbed home by somebody. I couldn't see.
Kabamba in the end, almost inevitably. 2 corners, 2 goals conceded. And another note for Mark Bonner to make. It cannot be don't concede corners, because that is not an option for the whole season. It's not attainable, not sustainable. But that was poorly defended. And United will have thoughts and words to say about that this close to the start of the season. So United looking hit back, ball into the area, thundered away, long clearance upfield. Ryan Bennett underneath it for the U's. That should find touch. Now Kanu will keep it in just inside the Barnet half. Drifts in field, looking for the ball down that left hand side. Lovely pass as well. Might be Barrett away down that far side. He's got 2 in the middle and his cross is overhit, which is fortunate because Barnet had 2 target men in the middle looking to nod it home. U's trailing by 2-0. Half an hour gone. Throw down the line, and he'll come. And Thomas with a header. Might have had a little push involved, but it's over halfway as Brophy gets the ball down the line. And is forced into touch for a throw to the U's, which Andrew will take. Here back, Digby closed down. Barnet winning possession back inside United territory. Kabamba back to this near side. He'll get the ball back from Barrett. Kabamba close to the corner. It's got Hall Johnson for company. Level with the edge of the area. 3 in the middle. Ball will come back to Collins. He looks for a bit of help and finds it from Aluwu. It's wide again. Hall Johnson, space for him. Looking to try and deliver something. Support behind him again. Barrett on this right hand side. Back to Hall Johnson, support again. Deep cross from Collins, keeper comes, keeper claims. And United back in possession. Second best at the moment. Stevens thumps it upfield. Ahadme will chase. Lou gets there and puts it into touch for throw to United, midway inside Barnet territory. Chastening few minutes for United, conceding from corners on 24 and 30 after neither side really threatened much before that. Hughes on the ball again as Brophy goes back into his own half. Will find Michael Morrison, deepest outfield player. There's it back to Bennett alongside him. Ryan Bennett looking for options, going wide towards Liam Bennett, and will get it back as well midway inside his own half. Hughes 2-0 down. Nice play out wide to Danny Andrew, looking at the ball down this near side, and Kaikai was away just for a second from Collins, who with a no-nonsense clip of the heels, clatter of the heels, brings him down. Kaikai down. Getting clattered on both ankles. He'll need a bit of treatment, I'm sure. Hughes with a free kick, but that was an agricultural challenge. Referee Has a look, no more than that. Hughes will be chastened by what they've seen in the first 34 minutes. Not yet shown any sign of a riposte. Danny Andrew will take the free kick. It's from halfway between the halfway line and the edge of the area. But they can't do anything yet until Solly KK has received treatment, which he has now, and he wanders off ruefully. Hopefully he'll be okay. That was a robust clipping of the ankles for Collins. Andrew to take, everyone queuing up at the far post. It's delivered deep towards that far post, looking for the nod back infield. It comes off a Barnet head, and the home side will be able to clear their lines. They try and work a counter-attack down that left-hand side. There's 2 against 2 for a minute, but Liam Bennett makes up for at least any of those and puts it away for the throw to Barnet. Just on the halfway line, Cloud again. Just hiding the sun for a moment or two. 10 minutes to the break. Not a half that will live long in United memories. As the ball down the left-hand side with the chance to try and deliver something from Kanu. Goes back and he finds a bit of help from Coker. He's crowded out. Does win the throw though for Barnet, who have certainly since they took the lead had much more of the ball than United. Neither side wanted it particularly before that. As Kanu backs into his man and gets a free kick level with the edge of the area on the left-hand side. United looking a little dozy at the moment. Trailing by 2-0, 10 minutes before the break. As the free kick will be whipped in, left-footed. Barnet plenty forward. United, everyone back in the area, just about. As it's delivered in deep towards that far side. Nodded away by Morrison for United. Will clear his lines well, and Barnet have to go back into their own half. They'll drill it long, looking for Collins, who's away on this right-hand side. Andrew goes with him. Collins looks to take him on. Got the cross half in. It was blocked at source at the expense of another corner. The alarm bells will be ringing for United, who've conceded from 2 corners already. So Gorman strolls across in a nonchalant manner, waiting to deliver. Again, United pull everyone back. Again, the wind whips round this 3-sided stadium. Big gaps between the 3 sides, the 3 stands as well. So it's a well-aired ground. As Gorman takes right-footed. Good movement in the box. It goes deep towards that far post. Just a little too deep perhaps on this occasion. Will be kept in on the far side. Coker forced away. Brophy's done really well to win the challenge. Come away with the ball. Hurdle a couple of challenges, but not the third. Brought down, and Hughes will have the free kick. 15 yards outside their own penalty area. Referee wants a word with a Barnet man. No more than a word. And with 9 minutes to the break, Hughes continue to trail by 2-0. There's clearance from Stevens, looking for a Hadmi, who wins the header. There's a chase for KK, but Walker's off his line quickly, decisively, and falls to the ground on top of the ball and gathers it up for Barnet. And Barnet will look to come away with it. So going nowhere fast just at the moment. We can go somewhere fast. We can go to Peterborough. Nathan.
Yeah, Birmingham have a goal back. It's Posh 3, Birmingham 1. Hogan played in through the centre, left Critchlow for dead. 1v1 with Bolokovic, and he slid it into the bottom left-hand corner. 10 to go. It's Posh 3, Birmingham 1.
Thanks, Nathan. Hughes with the ball in their own area. They haven't dealt with it yet. They've had a couple of attempts to clear it as it's hoiked back deep towards that far side. Liam Bennett crowded out. 2 go for it in white shirts, the Hughes away kit, and smuggle it away for a throw to Barnet. The United struggling to get to grips with Barnet and the conditions at the moment, Dan Bronowski.
Yeah, it's been challenging. I mean, not really showed a lot in attack either, have we? Likewise, Barnet putting the ball in the box a lot, and putting in some good deliveries, and United sort of struggling with that direct approach. And I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get too over the top about it and what it might mean and what have you. It's only pre-season, but I guess he certainly would have liked to see a bit more.
I think it means, as of today, United could do with a little bit of work on corners, defending thereof.
Yeah.
And you'd rather that than next week.
Yeah, that's true. I also think there's probably a little bit of a lack of motivation there. Last week before the friendly, before the start of the season.
There's Barnet looking to attack down that left-hand side. Carnu just on the edge of the area, tries to tee it up. Oh, vicious strike from Barrett. Started rising and continued so doing. No challenge there.
Barnet probably have a bit more to prove playing against a higher division opposition. Conscious that the season starts next week, don't want to get injured, just probably not quite as hungry to play at their absolute best as they could be. Don't know.
I'm sure that's exactly what Mark Bonner will not be saying in the dressing room.
That's true.
He won't accept that. He's got a fistful of notes in his hand at the moment, which will be revealed back to the players at half-time. It's a long clearance from United over the halfway line. It will come back though. Carnu's there. Thomas for Hughes tries to work it on. Hughes half clearing their lines. Only just. Still in the United half, and Liam Bennett of all people tried to clear, fell over, and Barnet back in possession on the left hand side, level with the edge of the area. Chance to ping one in from that left hand side. Plenty forward in the black and amber stripes of Barnet. Cross still hasn't come in. Now it might, as it's wide again towards that far side. Chance, but in the end Barnet overplayed it, and flag went up, and offside called with 5 minutes to break. Hughes trailing by 2-0. I suppose there's a case for saying that pre-season's gone so well, so you might as well get this one out the way now.
Yeah.
It's not a very good case, I'll admit.
No, I mean, I guess overall, no matter what happens today, we're still going to have won more games than we've lost if you care about results. But then if you say you don't care about results, then you shouldn't really care what happens today.
You should care about the performance, which is not great at the moment.
That's true.
As Hughes with Digby looking for Brophy and finding touch on that far side. I can hear a post-match saying, well, you don't really want to be the finished article on the whatever date it is in July, which is true.
Yeah, and I mean, they looked fantastic last week against Ipswich, looked great against Gillingham. Could just be an off day, could just be an off half. You never know what's going to happen the rest of the game.
On clearance forward, Kaiko will chase, keeper's there first. There's Barnet counter-attacking on this near side. Collins ranging forward. Ball back in field. Pritchard goes away towards Hall Johnson on the right-hand side. Tries to dance past Danny Andrews, having none of it. Has the ball off him. Clips it long, and that's too long. That Hami, who's almost been in his own postcode for much of this first half. Nowhere able to get anywhere near it. Barnet looking in control at the minute. 42 minutes on the first half stopwatch, leading by 2-0. Both goals coming from poorly defended corners on this right hand side, as Barrett looks to take on Danny Andrew, who stands strong, holds him at bay, but still the cross almost comes in again, but solid defending from Andrew blocks it away for a throw to Barnet close to their corner flag, which they're in no great rush to take. On the right hand side was plenty forward for Barnet. Again, United pull everyone back into the area. So look to launch it in from this near side. It's Barrett with height and loop, not tremendous distance, half cleared. We'll come back to Barrett, who looks to get to the byline. First touch isn't great, second one marginally better. Third one allows Solly Kaikai to nip in and take the ball off him, but he's rolling it down the line and gets a free kick for a little bit of shirt pulling. A very little bit of shirt pulling, but shirt pulling nonetheless. 2.5 minutes to the break. Barnet 2, Cambridge United 0. BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. Stevens will look to launch it away, and United will have some thinking to do as the sun breaks through the clouds. This comes off the head of Collins, under a lot of pressure actually from Ghassan Ahadme. Hughes will have the throw. 10 yards over halfway, left hand side. Hughes all white from right to left. Flicked back by Lancaster, who's been peripheral at best. Centre half pairing. Morrison gets it from Ryan Bennett, plays it across to Danny Andrew on the halfway line. His pass forward is blocked off and hoiked away, but that's going nowhere fast. And Kaikai's done well to win the ball for United. Looks for a free kick, gets it as well. Making something out of absolutely nothing there, Soleil Kaikai. Andrew wants to take quickly. There's a Barnet man about 2 foot away from the ball. It's probably not going to be allowed. Players from the back getting forward reluctantly. Morrison's jogging forward now with a little bit of vim and vigour. Ryan Bennett will arrive later at that far post. Line of players about a yard outside the area, 2 yards perhaps. By and large all at the far post, and that's where it's heading. Wind catches it into the hands of the keeper. Well, that one was very clearly wind affected. Danny Andrews' intent and aim originally was for men at the far post, and it just bent almost at 45 degrees and went through into the hands of the keeper. Last few seconds of a first half that's been chastening for the U's. They trailed by 2-0. And clearance chested down by Kabamba, who scored the second goal. Jogs into the area now. There's a ball wide on that far side. Chance for the cross to come in. Kind of does use. Had a chance to clear it and no one reacted quickly. The ball again on the far side, left hand side, deep cross far post, flashes through everyone and will go all the way out for the throw to the U's. Might be a moment or two of stoppage time. Had a couple of players requiring treatment. It is still Barnet 2, Cambridge United 0. Throw down the line. Back in field by Collins, who's doing a man marking job on Ahadme. And Barnet going for 10 yards outside the box. It's worked wide. Kabamba was tripped. That'll be a free kick 10 yards outside the area. Good position, right of centre. And one more piece of defending to do before the break. As United pull everyone back. There's a decoy run down the right hand side and the ball flicked into the area, looking for the little nod on. Gets it, lofted well over the top. Stevens had it clear, had it covered, and there goes the half-time whistle on a ponderous first half for the U's, with, ironically, plenty to ponder as a result. Nothing really happened in the first 24 minutes, and then cross from the right-hand side by Collins, deceived everyone in the wind, came back off the post, smuggled behind from a corner which United did nothing to deal with, and Collins nodded it in. Kabamba smuggled the ball in from the next corner 30 minutes after Hughes again didn't really deal with a corner after a clever flick at the near post, and that's about it. Barnet in control, United haven't got going. Half time at the Hive, Barnet 2, Cambridge United 0.
Jono, I don't know about you, I reckon player of the half there has to be Dan in the commentary box. We thought get him along for a pre-season game. No Doug Shulman, nice and straightforward. Hughes have been sailing through pre-season so far, and he's had to sit through that and try and dig out some positives.
He's done well because he's typing a match report as well as summarising here. So actually he's had it easy because he's had something to take his mind off the game, as in a match report of the game. It's not been great.
No, it's not been great. Sorry, Peter.
I was going to say,
I feel like a commentator's curse. I mean, it's not very often. I've done this probably a dozen times in my career and have very little, very poor success rate, I must say. And it's always hard when you work for the club and you got to do these things as well, especially when you lose. So, I'm just going with the whole, it's only pre-season line. Talk to me after next week and let's see.
It's a good job really that you've stated and made clear your record right now, because if Paul Barry's listening, At least we can get you out the way for any competitive matches. We can get that sorted so we don't end up in this unfortunate position. But full credit, Dan. That's a tough 45 minutes. I was hoping you'd have a bit more to get your teeth into, and goodness knows, maybe for the second half you will do. We'll be back with Jono.
So was I, and I was sorry.
No. You try and put the positive gloss on. Go for it, and then we'll go and talk about Posh, and we'll come back to you.
Well. There's no positive gloss. All I would say is that I was expecting better, because I thought the last two performances were really, really good, and I don't know, maybe I'll go with the wins. Maybe the second half the wins with us, and it'll all be totally different, and we'll look much better.
We'll take a look at some of the key moments. It won't actually take that long, but we'll do it in a moment or two. But we'll give Jono and Dan a little bit of a break. So Cambridge United trailing by 2-0 at Barnet, having so far gone through pre-season undefeated, and more importantly, as you heard the lads saying in commentary, the level of the performances, you think of the Ipswich game from last weekend, the level of performance has been good, which is what you're looking for in pre-season. First 45 minutes here, we're 2-0 down, and the performance has been nothing to speak of. Ahadmi in attack has looked very isolated. So plenty for Mark Bonner to think about during the half-time break. Right then, back over to Barnet. Cambridge United trailing by 2-0. And Jono, we could have a grumble about a number of aspects of the play. Which would you say, which is the more disappointing element, conceding the 2 goals from the corners, or the fact that the U's haven't really hit their stride in attacking areas at all?
That's a difficult one, because both of them are very, very disappointed indeed. Defensively was shocking from those 2 corners. That was not what you'd expect. And if United carry on like that, it's going to be a very long season. But they won't carry on like that, obviously. Going forward was even more of a concern. Al-Hadmi wasn't able to hold the ball up and was well marked, and as a result there was no real outlet for the U's, so they showed absolutely nothing up front. It was the worst of all possible worlds, really, in that first half. The best thing I can say about it was it's this week and not next.
Well, and that sounds, I suppose, in some respects a bit glib, but it's absolutely true. I remember last season Posh thrashed Hull in their final pre-season friendly, and then Hull went on to have a brilliant start to the season. So yeah, it's a complete cliche, but in pure specifics it doesn't count for all that much. It's just a bit of a worry and a bit disappointing, particularly given what's gone before and the momentum that the U's had built up.
Well, what they've been looking to do, I think, is improve on that tempo when they've got the ball. And we saw it didn't work against St Albans a few weeks ago, and it just didn't come off. And against St Albans side, who weren't great at all. It worked really well against Gillingham in the week, and it made a well-financed Gillingham side look not just ordinary, but extraordinary. And that was great. That was really interesting and attractive to watch, with the movement and the support and all that goes with it. And that's what they're trying to replicate today. That hasn't worked today, but instead of adjusting, I think what they've done is said, OK, we want to see if we can get this to work. If this had been a regular season match, they would have adjusted and gone for a plan B, but they're still working on that higher tempo counter-attacking football, which involves your front four particularly, and a bit of support coming from Thomas behind. And it just hasn't happened today. Happened, as I say, really well in midweek against Gillingham, but because that's the element they want to try and get right, they haven't adapted. They said, OK, we'll keep trying it, and we won't try and improve. We'll try and get exactly what we're looking for out of that shape, out of that style. Second half might be a very different picture, because they might say, OK, well, we've done that, we'll need to try and work on something a bit different. But don't forget, this is a dress rehearsal. If you go into this game and say it's all about results, it's really disappointing. If you say it's about performances, it's really disappointing. But if you say it's about working on things, then it could be something that comes off well in the end.
Is it too simplistic?
Did that make any sense at all?
Oh, that was absolutely fine, Jono. Far more confusing things have been said on this programme than those sentences. We'll take those all day long. Just to pick up on the flow then of pre-season so far and what the U's have been attempting to do, is it too simplistic to say that if you get an Ipswich or a Gillingham who come along and want to play a game of football, it's worked, but if you're St Albans or Barnet and you stick everyone behind the ball, the U's haven't quite cracked it yet?
Yep, absolutely. It's not too simple. Actually, yes, absolutely is the wrong answer. No, it's not too simplistic to say that at all. You're right. That is the case. That is what happened. They looked decent against Ipswich. They looked decent against Gillingham because they were able to play with that bit of tempo and actually go at teams on the counter. Against teams like St Albans, against teams like Barnet, who have smothered them a bit and stopped them playing completely, they haven't been able to find the answer. So what do you do? In the league, if this had been a league game, they would have switched things around. They probably would have switched to putting Lancaster just behind Adhame and putting Brophy and Kai back into a 4 in midfield and trying to switch things to stifle Barnet's midfield that way. But because it's not, this is a training game, if you like, for want of a better word. Admittedly, a training game people pay to watch. They're saying, OK, well, we'll go with this shape. This is what we want to work on today. Let's see what comes of it.
Let's see what comes of it in the second half as well. So Cambridge United 2-0 down at the break. It has not been an enjoyable 45 minutes, if we're being completely honest. Barnet scoring both of their goals from set plays. The U's a bit sloppy. Jack Stevens, we heard some concerns on the tweets and the texts about his previous form in the build-up to the game, not really covering himself in glory in the build-up to the first corner. So quite a lot for Mark Bonner to iron out during the half-time break. But we can keep saying it because it's true. It's only pre-season. It doesn't really matter. But it would be nice if the U's could up it a bit in the second half. We'll stay across the posh as well. It's BBC Radio Cambridgeshire on a Saturday afternoon. Let's head back over to the Hive.
The sound of Cambridgeshire. BBC Radio Cambridgeshire Sport.
Where the teams are just emerging for the start of the second half, United look unchanged to me, all in white from left to right. Jack Stevens in goal, back for Liam Bennett right back, Danny Andrew on the left, Ryan Bennett, Michael Morrison in the middle, George Thomas, Paul Digby behind, James Brophy, Jack Lancaster, Saleh Kai with Ghassan Ahadme in attack. For Barnet, I don't think there's a change for them either. Laurie Walker in goal, Finley Potter, Danny Collins, Adibola Awolu, the three centre-halves, Reece Hall-Johnson, Ben Coker, the wing-backs, Sam Barrett, Idris Kanu, the wingers, Dale Gorman, Harry Pritchard behind, Nick Kabamba. Referee clad in black, Connor Griffin. Barnet in black and amber stripes, black shorts and socks. Certainly seen no indication of substitutions made at the break, because I don't believe there are any. Referee checks that everyone's ready to go. Sun's shining brightly, wind has dropped a fraction, and United get things underway with Stevens in blue with the long ball forward, looking for the flick on. Doesn't get there, but it is picked up by Digby. He's got support behind him. Wide on that left-hand side in the shade of the stand. And it's switched over towards the blazing sunshine of this right-hand side, where Bennett is beaten away. Kanu tries to force it down on this near side. Coker slides in, but is beaten to it by Brophy for the U's. Ball in field. Thomas with a heavy touch. But behind him, Ryan Bennett will get there and ping it forward. Hadme wide towards Kai on the left-hand side. He'll look to run at his man. He's got 2-3 for company. Down the line towards Lancaster. Deep cross far post, too deep. And Liam Bennett, for all his bustling energy, won't be able to catch up with it. And that'll go away and out for the goal kick. So no changes at the break. Whether United decide to make a slew of changes on the hour mark remains to be seen. Will Mannion, the keeper, Fajiri Okadabiri, Harrison Dunk, Dribble Okadina, Zeno Rossi, Lewis Simper, Jordan Cousins, Kai Yearn are the subs. As the clearance from Barnet finds touch deep in U's territory. Trailing by 2-0, both goals coming in a 6-minute spell, both from corners, both poor defending, and both happening in pre-season. which is better than the alternative. Dan Branowski alongside me.
Yeah, it's certainly better than the alternative. Hope to see a little bit more, I think, this half. Hopefully the wind will be with us this half, and that might help. And it'd be good to see a bit more of what we've seen from much of pre-season. Too many promising attacks sort of fizzled out in that first half and weren't really able to sustain any pressure on the Barnet defence, and I think that's what we want to see.
United in pre-season almost been better against the better teams, or the more attacking teams.
Yeah, and that's often the way that we saw ourselves last season as well, really.
Yep.
You know, when you got the sort of more defensive setup against us, struggle to sort of break that down, and whereas when there's a bit more space on the counter-attack to run into, it's often when you see us at our best. But I guess that's probably why we've scheduled this game as well.
As Brophy clatters into his man, free kick on the halfway line. This was always going to be a good test for the U's, and so it's proved, but it's not one that they're passing yet. As Coker with the free kick from the halfway line, looking for the run, and it's controlled nicely by the offside figure of Sam Barrett, and Hughes will get a free kick. Offside traps work nicely at times. Hughes with that free kick deep in their own half. 3 minutes into the second half here on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. It's Barnet 2, Cambridge United 0. Stirring on the technical bench to my left as the ball for Barnet clearing, whacked upfield. There's a chase for Kanu. Cross comes Ryan Bennett to crane his neck and nod the ball into touch for a throw to Barnet over on the left hand side. Ben Coker climbs it over the barrier to act as left back, throw in taker and ball boy, not necessarily in that order. He gets the ball back as well, down the line, looking for the return pass. Doesn't quite get it. It will find its way back via Potter. And spins it wide towards the left-hand side. Potter, deep cross. Hughes looking for an offside flag that doesn't come. Try and work it away. Lancaster's done well to find Brophy, and he'll get the ball back deep in his own half. He's got nowhere forward to go with it. And in the end, Hughes end up playing it along their back line.
Yeah, there was an early ball in over the top there for Hadmi. He made a good run through the middle, and I think it was Digby who avoided making the pass, and much to Hadmi's frustration, nice to see that ball released a little bit earlier.
Now it's switched wide, and Liam Bennett will scamper down the line. Deep cross into the air, and the keeper makes his first real difficult catch of the match, which he held on well and bowls it out even better and finds Kanu on the left hand side on halfway, and he keeps it in well up against Digby. He'll look to take him on and drifts in field, continues so doing, but runs into a lovely, strong, old-fashioned centre-halves challenge from Ryan Bennett, who comes away with the ball. United back in possession. Looking for the ball over the top from Lancaster. Look for the run of Kai, who stopped for a minute thinking the ball was going to drift aimlessly out. It didn't. And then caught him out just for a second, but defender gets back. And we'll clear it by the keeper. Maybe Hughes will try and pin it back. Hughes back in possession. Kai finding Digby on halfway line, but he's going backwards just at the moment, as will Michael Morrison. He's just not finding that tempo they found in some pre-season matches this season, Dan.
No, not quite. Good ball over here though.
As they look for Brophy, who's done well to keep it in on the right hand side. Tees it back for Liam Bennett. Whips the cross in, nodded away, only as far as Digby, who reads the ball bounce better than Kanu, and will keep things ticking over. He's playing some better one-touch stuff and then give it away. The dreadful pass from Danny Andrew. Brophy and Thomas and Lancaster rather have a nibble at their man, and Barnet will get the free kick. Check of the watch from Mark Bonner, as if to suggest he's got some subs with minutes in mind.
Yeah, I imagine we'll see all of the bench come on at some point.
By which time I might have discovered, oh, there it is, what's happened with my pen that's fallen off a bench. These lovely slopey benches are great unless you have to use them. As the clearance into the hands of Jack Stevens from a Barnet free kick, and United dealt with that Quite nicely indeed, thank you. And we'll roll it out towards Liam Bennett. Quickly closed down again. Barnet high press has given United one or two things to try and think about, which they haven't quite found the solution for yet. All nodded back, and a bit of exasperation from Ryan Bennett having to react quickly to beat Kabamba to a...
Yeah, they've been good, Barnet. Certainly very impressed so far.
And a hasty overhit ball forward from United's defence, which is easy meat for the Barnet backline. And they'll get it forward again. They look completely in control at the moment, 8 minutes into the second half.
Yeah, I'd like to see us just get more into Hadmi and Kai and Lancaster. Not had enough of the ball and in good territory.
I was suggesting at half-time, as United conceded a free kick midway inside their own half, over on that right-hand side, that if this had been a regular season match, Hughes would have switched things around shape-wise or even personnel-wise by now to adapt.
Yeah, I think so.
But this is about working on patterns.
Yeah.
Which at the moment aren't very pretty ones. Hughes trail, 2-0. Free kick wide on that right-hand side. Will be launched in. United with everyone back just outside the area. It's taken short, and now will be launched in about the third attempt, and United deal with it easily. Lancaster chase it out almost, and Barnet there easily to deal with it, and goes all the way back to the keeper. And Walker will send it long and across as a gust of wind picks up once more. Liam Bennett comes across and nod it into touch for a throw to Barnet. Level with the United penalty area over on that left-hand side. This time the ball has bounced into about row G of the stand. I think there's a row G in this stand. And Ben Coker has to go all the way back up to get it. He's gone so far he could almost do with an usher to find his way back to the pitch from there. He takes the throw. And the ball's played in towards that left-hand side, looking to make a bit of space. Is Carnu, and he'll get it back on this right-hand side, just outside the area. Runs into trouble. Liam Bennett does ever so well to win the ball and find Lancaster. He holds off Carnu's recovery challenge, away from Gorman as well. Runs into and out of a cul-de-sac and then gives the ball away. Almost. Gives it to Ryan Bennett with an emphatic clearance upfield. Into touch. That's a throw for Barnet, deep in their own half.
Yeah, Ryan Bennett not happy about something there. I think he was expecting the referee to blow up for something, because the way he just booted that out of play made me think he thought the ball was dead, but he's not very happy.
No, and I don't think you want to be on the wrong side of an unhappy Ryan Bennett. As the clearance from Barnet finds the roof of the stand. And that'll bounce. And actually, the rake of the stand roof allows it to bounce back into play. Hughes in possession with a throw which they take quickly. Back to Ryan Bennett, who calmly goes back to his keeper. Hughes fans away to my right, making some noise. There's Liam Bennett, despite the shoulder charge, got the ball away, but Hughes can't hang on to it. Jack Lancaster leaves his mark on a man in midfield. Barry Corr has a word with the linesman, and Jack Lancaster goes into the book for leaving his foot in, I think.
Yeah, Barry Corr not happy with the officials there as well. A bit of frustration from our side.
I think that's what he said, wasn't it? I'm not happy with you. It was exactly what he said.
Exactly.
That's how I heard it anyway. It will be a free kick to Barnet, 15 yards outside the area. He's trailing by 2-0. All the flip charts are coming out now. There's an iPad and a flip chart involved. Substitutions are imminent. And there they go, warming up. There's a free kick whipped in deep towards the far side and arriving at the far post. As Kabamba arrived and planted his header well over the top. There was a chance.
Yeah, they've been good in the air, haven't they? They've been good from their direct balls into the box, set pieces. It's certainly been a bit of a struggle for the U's from that point of view today.
There are a few sides in League One that are decent in the air, so this is a good, useful reminder, I think, apart from anything else.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any hint of complacency even going into this one. There certainly won't be coming out of it.
No, yeah, that's true.
As Adhame with a deft little flick on, actually. Brophy couldn't quite latch on to it. There are defenders there. Brophy's done well to put the pressure on and force the throw. Made something out of nothing there, James Brophy. That looked at lost cause almost, as United will have the throw level the edge of the area, right hand side. Liam Bennett comes across to take. Lancaster drops short. Now he and Brophy go into the area. Kaika comes short for the ball now and will get it. And back to Bennett, who skips past his man. Deep cross far post, looking for Adhame, who climbed well. Ahadme climbed at the far post and cushioned header well wide.
Possibly our best sight of goal in the game so far. That good ball into the box from Bennett. It had me there. Had the height advantage on his man at the back post, but couldn't direct it goalwards.
There speaks a club man. I was going to say the only sight of goal so far, but best and only. Both are true. But, that was a chance for Ahadme. You still trail by 2-0 here on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire, a week before the start of the season. There's the ball down that far side, sliding in was Morrison to put the ball away for a throw to Barnet, midway inside United half, a little further forward than that perhaps. It's good movement from Barnet, marking well is Thomas, and he's forced his man back. User got 4 subs warming up at the moment. Duncan Cousins amongst them. As United win a free kick. So, you still trail by 2-0. Posh against Birmingham, Nathan Alban.
Yeah, quiet start to this second half. Posh 3, Birmingham 1. Birmingham have had a soft penalty appeal waved away, and also Tyler Roberts sliding wide of the near post. Posh, by the way, been playing out with some really nice one-touch football. Kiyoso getting forwards from right back as well. He's had Sariki Dembele's number so far. It's still Posh 3, Birmingham 1.
Thanks, Nathan. As Liam Bennett with the ball down the line, defender misses it. Ahadme might keep it in by the corner, does, rolls it into the box, but actually linesman spotted the ball had crossed the line and it peters out. Half an hour of the second half has gone. You still trail, and changes are very imminent for United. Flip charts are being flipped all over the place in the technical area. There's clearance down the line from Barnet. That was awful as well. This is second half has been in keeping. Hasn't entirely livened up. There's the use with a throw midway inside the Barnet half. Kai trying to get it back to Danny Andrew. Did well under a little bit of pressure to force another throw, almost exactly where the last one was. Hughes will take, milling around in front. Pull back towards the halfway line. Thomas finding Morrison, who steps away from one, rolls it on. Kaika gets it back to Thomas. Thomas with the ball over the top, looking for the runner down that left-hand side. Can't find him. And Barnet back in possession, clipping it straight through the middle and all the way through to the Hughes keeper. And Stevens will clear it out immediately to Liam Bennett, looking for the ball down the line. Brophy does really well to reel it in and get it back in towards the edge of the area, where it's just a fraction too high for Ahadme, but under a little modicum of pressure, it's nodded behind for a United corner.
Yeah, it was a good take from James Brophy. It was a looping ball over the top, and he had to do well to take it under in control, and you can see what he was trying to do. Ahadme was just peeling off his man in the centre, and he tried to sort of loft it over to him. Just a little bit too much on it, but like he said, got a corner out of it.
Which Thomas will take, right-footed in swinging, plenty forward for the Hughes, looking for the flick, and arrives nearly with Michael Morrison, just beaten to it, who's well marshalled. Hughes will settle for the throw over on this right-hand side.
That was one of them where it looked like it was going to be a goal, didn't it?
I often think that when the ball goes into the opponent's half. Half, yeah, not...
You hope, anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's that to it. And at this angle, it always looks closer than it than it really is. We're in row C. There's the throw, which flicked on by Brophy. Lancaster holds off his man. Did really well there, Lancaster. Hold off a couple. Brophy gets it back. Kai, corner of the box, right-hand side. Back towards Digby. Finding Liam Bennett again. Digby will roll it in field. He's going backwards at the moment, though. And Digby forced away. Has to go into his own half where Morrison will scamper back. Reel it in. Jordan Cousins is imminent. United will clear. Ball over the top. Brophy will chase again. Coker doesn't like the ball in behind. Shoved his man unceremoniously to the ground. United get a free kick. Well, the wing-backs are vulnerable for Barnet.
Yeah, I mean, there's no match there in pace between Ben Coker and James Brophy, and he showed it there. He was clever play, really, just doing his best to get in front of his man, and Coker tripped him up as he was about to get there. And free kick in a good position here for Danny Andrew to whip in swinging.
Yes, perhaps level with the penalty spot, perhaps a little further back than that, 4 or 5 yards in from this right touch line. Left-footed in swinging. One-man wall has been positioned. Andrew to take. Delivers it deep towards that far post and deep. Almost into Jacques Cousteau territory as it drifts beyond everyone. Out for the goal kick. United will make a change. 64th minute. Jordan Cousins comes on. George Thomas comes off. Not quite like for like, but position-wise like for like. They're two very different players in stature and a bit of style as well. Two good options for United. 63rd minute. So he comes.
We appear to be experiencing some technical difficulties at Barnet. It had been going really well. We were joking in the build-up to the commentary how Mark Johnson wasn't quite sure how he got the... Oh, there we go. He's back. We lost you for a moment there, Jono.
Deep cross far post and held on by the keeper. Oh, thank you, Peter. But, there was no sign that we'd lost you, so all is well. And Jordan Cousins has just come on in place of George Thomas in case we dipped out just before that. Either way, it's the U's with that 2-goal deficit. Made their first change as United back in possession. 20 minutes of the second half gone. They've made their first change. Cousins, who impressed in midweek against Gillingham, made a well-funded Gillingham side look very ordinary. As United in possession with Morrison midway inside their own half. They've looked ordinary at times. Goes wide towards the left-hand side. Andrew will look for the run. Kai had gone early and was offside. Never reached him. Hadme forces the throw on the halfway line. Hughes in possession. Cousins back to Andrew. Ball down the line looking for a Hadme. In a crowd scene, did well to get anything on that. Held off a couple, but lost out in the end. Ball down the line. Morrison has to defend with his own box on the far side. The United left gets it back well to Jack Stevens, whose clearance perfectly bisects Harry Pritchard of Barnet and Liam Bennett of United for a throw to Barnet. Ball forced back. Barnet just inside United territory. Clipping it forward aimlessly. It was Dale Gorman. Perfectly positioned if he was trying to pick up Harrison Dunk, who was warming up for United behind the goal on the left-hand side close to the corner flag. I suspect that wasn't his intent. As the U's pondering more changes. That's the ball forward. Harvey did well on that occasion. Back towards Brophy, who Ducks infield, pass 1, pass 2, midway inside the Barnet half, dead centre now, will roll forward, looking to go wide towards Danny Andrew, left hand side, he's got 4, 5 in the box, cross comes in half away by the Barnet defence, Brophy climbs well, gets it back towards Digby, almost beaten away, but Liam Bennett sorts it out. Cousins, nice ball wide towards the left hand side where Andrews closed down in a trice, and United will win the throw, which they take quickly. And back towards Cousins, who no options forward, but cross to Ryan Bennett, who controls it beautifully on halfway, pulled it down out of the air on the top of his boot, was looking for a bit of help, but goes back to Morrison. Cousins now sitting deep. Across it will go, Ryan Bennett to Liam Bennett, back pedalling inside his own half, right hand side, clipping it forward. Ahadme brings it down, ball reared up, hit him on the hand, free kick to Barnet. Midway through the second half, here on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire, it's Barnet 2, Cambridge United 0. On a sunny Edgware afternoon. Wide towards this left hand side. Coker for Barnet. In fact, it was Potter for Barnet, and he goes all the way back to his keeper. Coker had made the run. Option was eschewed. Long clearance forward through the middle. You just have to deal with it. The convergence of Bennett's is enough to do that, and Stevens, though he was closed down, gets it back to Ryan of that ilk, and Hughes will clear towards Lancaster, who turns away from his man and then back into a bit of trouble. Now he's squirmed away from problems and will look to get the ball down towards Brophy. Nice idea, poor execution. Throw to Barnet midway inside their own half. There's been a bit more promise in the second half, Dan, but against that first half, that's not saying an awful lot. But
yeah, I would say that certainly from around 55 minutes or so, it's definitely been better. Most of the play has been in this final third of Barnet's and had some good exchanges which have opened up some attacking situations. Still not really any shots on goal or made the goalkeeper work, but
yeah, my normal stat man's not here, so and I'm not collecting stats on that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't think we've had a shot on target.
I can count that many.
Yeah. But it's definitely getting a bit more promising.
Yeah. Barnet keepers had a couple of crosses to deal with that haven't been entirely perfunctory as Barnet attacked down that right hand side. Kai Yearn retrieves from warming up for the U's. Harrison Dunk there as well for Jerry Okanabere, also wandering back. Changes are in the air as we approach the last 20 minutes or so. U's in possession with Ryan Bennett just on the edge of his own area as it's launched away by Stevens. Hadmaid's beaten away. Cousins does well to win it back for United in midfield, and Ellen elegantly goes wide to Liam Bennett. Ball infield, Hadmaid back towards Digby. Nice one-touch stuff from the U's. Back towards Brophy on the right. He'll deliver the cross. Whipped in, nodded away. Only as far as Brophy, who does well to win it back. Looks to win the free kick off Carnu, and in fact stumbles into him and concedes a free kick. Could have gone either way, and I think the referee got it right in the end, actually. As Barnet are preparing 6 changes. So anyone who wants to write it down and keep a note of team sheets, good luck. Courtney Senior amongst them coming on, but I think all the outfield players are coming on, and presumably an equal number of outfield players are coming off. For full details, etc. There's no fourth official here, so players are wandering off, players are wandering on, and we'll just assume that the same number are doing it each. So Barnet with lots of changes, 6 of that ilk with 20 minutes to go. They lead by 2-0. So Barnet then with the free kick from midway inside their own half. Walker goes long, looking for the flick on. Be picked up on this near side. Coming back initially was Omo, one of the subs. Chemo tries to work it on, and in the end wins a throw in United territory. Hughes have got Harrison Dunk ready. Kai Yearn is not too far away. So Barnet will have a throw which they'll launch in from this right hand side with 19 minutes to go. And it goes now, looking for the flick on. hoiked away by the United defence. We'll come back out towards this near side where Barrett, who's still on, will look to take on his man, but Liam Bennett nicked the ball off him, was fouled, and Barrett will go into the book. I remember the days when you didn't used to get bookings in pre-seasons. We've had 3 today.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that one seemed a little bit unnecessary. Just a little trip.
It's unnecessary on both fronts, actually. It's used with a long way to go. 72 minutes in. So the ball down that left-hand side, back towards the keeper. And Walker, clad in green for Barnet, gets it away. Calmly dealt with by the United defence. In all white, first airing of their new away kit. There's Yearn, Dunk and Okunabire are waiting in the wings. As the ball on, Lancaster turned his man, was clipped as he did so. Hughes keeping possession though with Jordan Cousins. Cross towards the left hand side. Danny Andrew drifts past one, will maraud up on that left hand side. Ball in towards Ahadme, just beaten away by the Barnet defence, and they'll look to clear, and they'll look to clear long. And there's a chase through the middle which Jack Stevens, the Hughes goalkeeper, will finish first, second and possibly third for as well. Very easy for him. It was an overhit pass straight through the middle, looking to catch United out. Failed to do so. Hughes will clear long, and Barnet will tidy up via their keeper. 28 minutes of the second half gone. Ball into touch, and I think United, from the bellows on this side, will make 3 changes. Harrison Dunk, Kai Yearn and Fajeri Okunabire will come on. 74th minute. Paul Digby will make way, I think. Danny Andrews certainly coming off. That's obvious for a start. Harrison Dunk will replace him. Sully Kaikai will come off. And Hassan Ahadme will all make way. Which all makes a lot of sense, Dan Branowski, from minutes point of view.
Yeah, I think so. Interesting that not making the huge raft of subs on 60 minutes like previously, just bringing on, what was it, Jordan Cousins on 60, and then these 3 for the final 15. You're not keeping track like you are. How long have we got left?
16.
Yeah, 15 minutes or so. And good to see Kai Yearn keep getting minutes as well.
It is. It's going to be an interesting season for him, whether he stays or whether he gets a loan out.
I think it's likely that he will get the loan, but I think it says something that he's somebody that Mark's bringing on now in this final pre-season game.
He looks to have matured physically. He's grown up and out.
Yeah, and he will continue to do that, won't he, the age he's at. But I mean, everyone who's watched him play can see his talent, so hopefully it's just a matter of time rather than if, as to when he breaks into the first team.
Used with a free kick. It's 15 yards outside the box. It'll be chipped in deep towards that, through that far post area and all the way through. And out for a throw on this near side. So changes rung by United. Shape maintained pretty much. And scoreline very much maintained. Hughes conceding 24, Collins, and then 30, Kabamba, both coming from corners not dealt with. As Cousins wins the ball back for United. Ball over the top from Morrison, looking to put Brophy away on this near side. Brophy, I thought he cleverly flicked it with the back of his heel into the shins of the Barnet defender. Barnet get the throw. Maybe, just maybe, the ball had crossed the line when Brophy carried out that clever flick. And Barnet can win a free kick as the throw goes forward, and Digby with an emphatic elbow into the back of his opponent. And Sam Barrett goes to ground, and Barnet have a free kick. Quarter of an hour to go. Hughes trail by 2-0. Anything happening at Peterborough, Nathan Alban.
Yeah, 15 to go here as well. Posh 3, Birmingham 1. Posh at a canter, very much in control, although no real chances in this second half. Former Posh man Sariki Dembele has been substituted by Birmingham, and he came off to some boos, but mostly applause from Posh fans. The visitors have brought on strikers Anderson and Jukovic, but to little effect so far. Still Posh 3, Birmingham 1.
Thanks, Nathan. As Barnet in control at the moment, the right-hand side. Barnet drifting back in field. Good work from Jörn, who's playing on the left-hand side of the three at the moment, keeping Barnet pinned in for a moment. Barnet fans, not many of them, a dozen in their singing section at the moment, trying to make a little bit of noise. It's been low-key, the atmosphere, as has United's performance at times. There's a ball over the top, and that will not find touch, but a dreadful piece of defending. Plays it back in field, and the Barnet man's got to climb. I think it's Potter to nod it back to his keeper. Made life very difficult for himself under a bit of pressure from Okunabiri as ball slid out wide towards his left-hand side, nearly intercepting with Brophy. Striding away was Akimo down the line. Field back in field towards Barrett. Back wide towards Akimo, who'll deliver the cross into the area, picking out the head, arriving late of a Barnet man in the middle who couldn't control. Nods it away and out for the goal kick. Stevens will take 13 minutes, 12 and a half to go here on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. On a warm but breezy summer's afternoon. As it's launched away by Stevens. Okunabiri couldn't quite get there. Clattered up front by Collins, and Stevens just outside his area. Has to hoist it away rather hurriedly. Brophy keeps it in field. Digby getting it back towards Bennett, who couldn't quite get there, and it's kept in play well by Callum Stead, one of the numerous substitutes. Bennett wins it back, was clipped as he did so. Play continues. Stead now has to go back into his own half, where it's whipped away down the line, looking for the run over on that far side of Barrett, who got a bit of a nudge, and that was enough to send the ball into touch for a goal kick to the U's. As the ball across towards that left-hand side, Morrison in control. I did hear there was a train strike in London today, but we can see trains, but they're underground trains operating overground at the moment. That's a section of the line runs behind the ground here at the Hive. It's Barnet cutting in field on that left-hand side. Hughes trying to keep them at arm's length, and have done so just about. In fact, force them all the way back towards the halfway line. We're under pressure from Okunabiri. A hurried ball down that far side is nodded into touch by Dunk for a throw to Barnet. 10 minutes to go. Hughes staring down the barrel of their first pre-season defeat in their last pre-season match. As Barnet have been unbeaten in their campaign. They did play Dunstable in midweek. They sent an 11 there, and then leading with 5-0. Walked off the pitch towards the end because there was a challenge went in they didn't like. With Hughes in possession, Okunabiri tries to work it on. Cousins has been upended. United will have a free kick, and Lewis Simper will be coming on for United ere too much longer. As will Dribble Okadina. So 2 more changes for the U's, imminent. There's the ball over the top, looking for almost running into the path of Brophy, but it's worked away from the edge of the area. Ryan Bennett sends it back. He's backing into his man. Okunabiri with a raised arm. The referee didn't like, and Fajiri Okunabiri goes into the book. 4th booking in the match. Which is, again, it's unusual to see any bookings in pre-season. 2 more changes make. Liam Bennett comes off, as does Jack Lancaster. Simper, Fajiri Okunabiri and Dribble Okadina come on. 81st minute. He's ringing the changes. And have used all their outfield subs, bar one now. Rossi is the last outfield sub available. Maybe in case of emergency break glass type substitution, but at this stage with 9 minutes to go, used trail by 2-0, and Lewis Simper playing in the Jack Lancaster role at the moment. It's not somewhere I've seen him play before. He's another player who's really matured over the summer in terms of physical height. As he looks to try and charge down a clearance, but the ball from Barnet eludes him and eludes Dunk at left back. Barnet into the area. Dunk tries to hold him back. Cross into the box. Nodded away by Okadina. And United get a slightly fortunate free kick for a little nudge into the back of Lewis Simper. As the sun again breaks through the intermittent grey cloud, and the windy old afternoon continues. It's United in possession. Dunk with the ball down the line, looking for Okunabire. Can't get there, held off. Again, United's number 9, whether it's literally in terms of Okunabire with his shirt number, or Hadme is playing in that role in the first much of the game. Neither really able to make many inroads. There's the ball out for another throw. Would have been a throw to United, but actually the offside flag has gone up as well. So United will have the free kick. 10-15 yards inside their own, they're outside their own penalty area. Seven minutes to go. And Dan Branowski alongside me. United persisting with this system. It's about system and shape, isn't it? And trying to get that pattern going.
Yeah, there's not a huge amount to say in terms of analysing the...
It's Barnet looking to break through. Offside flag goes up. That's something that's worked well today.
Yeah, there's not a huge amount to say in terms of analysing the performance, I don't think. It's clearly not been great, but it's just so hard to know what the players' mindsets are in this sort of game. Final one of pre-season, people are going to say that they should want to win every match and shouldn't matter that it's pre-season, but I just think it's human nature that maybe your levels are going to drop when you're just a week away from the season and you're playing against a team a couple of divisions below you. Just hard to have that edge.
So keep that panic button at beyond arm's reach.
100%. I mean, it's going to be a totally different feeling next Saturday at the Abbey. We're going to have over 6,000 supporters in the ground. It's going to be absolutely bouncing, and the players are going to feel that. They're going to feel that tension, that energy. And I'm sure that the performance will be light and day from what we've seen this afternoon.
This has felt like what it is, a training exercise.
100%, yeah. I mean, probably more so than most.
Yeah.
More so than most of them. I think in the early pre-season games, there's almost that excitement that we're back playing football and it's all back again. And then as you get towards the end, there's probably that little bit of fatigue with the whole pre-season exercise.
There's Barnet on the attack down the left-hand side, looking to whip the ball in low. It's smuggled away by the used defence. Ryan Bennett did well. Brought half clear. Simper almost stumbles on the ball, but does well to find Brophy, who clips it down the left-hand side. Barnet quickly back in possession on their left-hand side, looking to get it forward once more. It's, Potter finding a bit of help. Look through the ball in just 10 yards outside the box. Bit of intricate play, which is easily broken up by Okadina. And United back in possession once more as they go towards the left-hand side. 4 minutes to go. Used trail by 2 here on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. Okunabire gets the ball round the corner, but there's no one driving forward for United at the moment. Cousins tidying up, going back and getting the ball back as well off Ryan Bennett, and then playing it out towards Okadina on the right hand side, looking to clip it through the top. Okunabire in on goal. He's held off one, but in the end defender just nipped back in time to smuggle it behind for a corner on arguably United's best move of the match. Yeah,
it was a shame there. You'd love to see him put that away, but it was good defending from Danny Collins to get across and to force it out for a corner.
Finally, a bit of a flowing piece of counter-attacking play from United, just what they're looking to do. Harrison Dunk comes across to take the corner, left-footed in swinging. Plenty forward for United, all but one back for Barnet. As Dunk flicks it in towards the near post, half cleared. Nearly falls back in by Okadina. In the end, Okanabir is there as well, and it's cleared. Okadina tries to tidy up, tries to get it back towards Brophy, who didn't foul his man. Done well to force it back. And Collins, though, in possession for Barnet, goes across towards the right-hand side. Quickly closed down. Kai Yearn did well, and Simpers picked up the scraps on the left-hand side, midway inside the Barnet half. He's got Okanabiri in the middle. Dunk's arriving as in support on the overlap. Option issued. Cousins drives past one. Dunk almost caught in possession. Did ever so well to hold off the challenge. Yearn with the ball down the line, and Okanabiri's 5, maybe 6 yards offside. Not the most difficult decision the linesman will make, either this pre-season or the campaign proper. 2.5 minutes to go. Used Trowell, 2-0. I know Dan Branowski's got to his press officer hat to don once more once we get to full-time whistle. So in the last couple of minutes, Dan, your thoughts on this afternoon?
Well, just a little bit flat, isn't it? Obviously not a particularly impressive performance, and a little bit disappointing after the last 2 games, which I thought showed a lot of promise. But you know, I think context is everything in terms of it being a pre-season game and being so close to actually getting underway for real. You know, I'd be interested to hear what Mark has to say after the game. I mean, I'm sure that he's not going to overreact to it and be too disappointed. I think if you look overall at how pre-season has gone, it's been a positive one overall. This is obviously our first and only defeat of it, so you put all that context into it, then yeah, it's fine to be a little bit disappointed, a little bit flat, but you know, by the time we get to next week and we get ready to play against Oxford, it's going to be nobody's going to be thinking about this.
Barnet on the attack, looking to get the ball across face of goal. In the end, it was good defending just on the edge of his area by Cousins. Brophy brings it away. He was clipped as he did so, and Simpers forces the throw just on the halfway line. Thanks to Dan Branowski for his sterling efforts, talking to us whilst typing a match report. Typing a match report on its own while a game is going on is a darn difficult thing to do. So very grateful to him. As we're in the last minute and a half, Hughes going forward on that left-hand side. With Dunk carrying the ball forward. Okanabere through the middle. Goes wide instead to Yearn. Back to Dunk. Dunk will deliver the cross in. And climbing well, Okanabere couldn't get his header on target. Brophy will try and keep it in and will do so. Close to the corner and is chopped down. Referee allows play to continue. Cross in from Okadina, which bounces up off the pitch and off a Barnet man and the keeper, Laurie Walker, who's not had much to do. Just collapses gently onto the ball. And that will probably be that. I'm not sure how long the referee has in mind to add time. He's not brought a fourth official with him today. As Walker will launch the ball clear over halfway. Big booming clearance, nodded away by the United defence. Planted back over halfway, height rather than distance on that clearance from the Barnet back line. We're back in possession inside their own half. Into the first minute of stoppage time. Used 2-0 down. And clearance into touch, which actually Dunk prevented it going into touch in the shadow of the stand opposite. And Dunk will play it forward. Okanabere is onside but forced wide. Looks to cut back in field. And has to go back towards Michael Morrison, who's closed down. Thought about the pass back. And then almost loses it on the halfway line and surrounded by a mob of Barnet players, and does well to win. Might be a free kick in the end, actually. Linesman was flagging furiously for a throw, and I think that'll be the decision in the end. And it is. United back on the ball. with Cousins looking for the ball wide towards Okadina on this right hand side, over the edge of the area. Looks to return pass as well. Okadina's done well. Good cross in, far post, taken away from Yearn by a defensive header. Yearn can't quite get there, and there are 2 against 1, but Yearn's kept the pressure on, and in the end Barnet get it away. But at the stretch, he's back in possession. Cousins, brilliant to turn away from his man and go wide towards this right hand side, and he'll get the ball back as well, 5 yards outside the area. Cousins with the cross into the area, nodded away by the Barnet defence, half cleared. Poor clearance in the end. Yearn seizes on it, back out to Dunk on the left hand side. Will look to run at his man. He's past one, he's tripped by the first one, is he? Right lines. The referee has a good look and says goal kick, and that's probably right. Not too much in the way of complaints from Harrison Dunk, and the ball out for the goal kick. Hughes trail by 2-0. We've had nearly 2 minutes of stoppage time here at the Hive. And, we'll have no more. And there goes the full-time whistle on well, if truth be told, a thoroughly disappointing afternoon from Cambridge United. Well beaten by 2 first-half goals, 24 minutes and 30 minutes, both from corners, poorly defended. And Barnet deserved that lead. Before the goal, nothing much happened for either side. After the first goal, Barnet in control for long periods. United a little bit better in the second half, particularly when they made a raft of changes with about half an hour or so to go. Barnet did. United finished strongly-ish, but it's one of those afternoons you can say, well, best thing about it, it was a pre-season game. Next week will be very different. It's ended then at the Hive. Barnet 2, Cambridge United 0.
John, I enjoyed you mentioning Dan multitasking, doing the commentary with us and writing his match report. I was thinking that, to be honest, so little had happened that at least writing the match report is presumably only about 3 paragraphs long. He didn't have to write too much. Now, I know we've had a bit of a laugh, and there's a lot to throw into the mix in that, of course, as a competitive footballer, as a fan, you want your side to win every game, but by the same token, it is only pre-season and it's about the bigger picture. And if we look at things from that perspective and we talk about lessons learned, what do you feel we've learnt about Cambridge United as a side today?
There's a bit of work to do, quite honestly. I think it was more about shape than result today. Performance was not what we were looking for, I don't think, all round. But again, I think it was more about looking to try and work on this particular plan, which was the higher tempo, the counter-attacking football, and to see if they could work it against a side that smothered midfield with 5 at the back and 4 in front of them. They didn't succeed, but they will have learnt lessons from it. It's not just about that, it's about minutes into players, it's about shapes and patterns. And as I think it's one of those afternoons where the coaching staff have probably got a different set of tick boxes to what we've got in the media and certainly what the fans have got on the terraces. And if those boxes have all been ticked, great. And if that, as a result, United can carry the good things into the season and not have any nonsense like this too often, then I think all will be well. It's one of those afternoons, as I say, it felt like a training exercise. It felt like a pre-season friendly in the COVID years, because the atmosphere was non-existent and there were hardly any people in the ground either. But it was that sort of low-key. And if ever there was a lesson of atmosphere making a poor game feel better, this was it.
Well, we know it's such a big factor in any footballing occasion, and the COVID pandemic really taught us that if we didn't already know it. Do you think that, Mark, you were discussing this with Dan in the commentary, and I thought it was an interesting point, given what we said at half time around historically under Mark, the U's have found it quite challenging when sides have sat in and denied them room, and you look at the pre-season campaign so far and it's gone better when they've had more space to work with. With all of that in mind, do you think Mark had deliberately picked this game to be the final pre-season match because he knew exactly the level of challenge, the type of challenge, that it would be this sort of match?
Absolutely, no doubt about that. Mark Bonner does not do things by accident. Whether it's signing a player, whether it's picking a formation, whether it's an element of coaching, or whether it's picking an opponent for pre-season, none of this is by accident. Absolutely, this felt like just the sort of test they wanted to see if they could, with this system, and they didn't change the system or the shape all afternoon, unpick a side that smothers midfield and looks to hit on the counter. It's not quite how United play. They're a little bit more finesse about them than that. But it's not quite, so it's nearly a mirror image of themselves in many respects. And the answer at the moment is, without changing shape, without changing personnel, they can't. But that doesn't matter, because they've learnt that lesson. They will know, if at first you don't succeed, you don't keep banging your head against the brick wall, because you've got options to change. If it's been about performance and result above pattern, United would have changed something at half-time, maybe even before that, certainly on the hour. They didn't. It was the 4-2-3-1 all afternoon. Personnel change, but not that shape. And that was key to showing me that it wasn't necessarily about performance, it was about shape and patterns today.
And it's all about adding layers as well, in that if you're looking at the upcoming season from a purely pragmatic point of view, if the U's go out and do what they do well in enough of the games, they'll get the points that they need to finish in a healthy position in the league. What it then becomes about is, when you do come up against a side who sticks everyone behind the ball at the Abbey and denies you the space, can you find a way to adapt and take points in those games as well? But it isn't to take away from what you might call the main blueprint and finding that space on the break. They've got that in their back pocket, we hope, from what we've seen in pre-season so far, and indeed from previous seasons. It's what they can then layer up on top of that.
Yeah, that's right. This is like one of those games against one of those teams who will come and park the bus at the Abbey, and those are the teams that United are really competing with. They're the teams that are going to be in that second group, if you like, in League One. They're not going to be the playoff and promotion contenders. They haven't got the budget to do so, so they're doing stuff by being awkward and hard to break down, hard to beat. And those players who do it, those teams that do it against United, will be doubly so. They'll be the ones that are really saying, OK, well, if we can just finish one place above relegation, we've had a fantastic season. United aspire to be better than that, and to be better than that, you need to beat teams whose only aspiration is to finish fifth bottom. Now, Barnet aren't a team with that mindset in the National League, but they'll play with that kind of style of a team who comes to the Abbey and says, if we get a point here, it's a real bonus. And that's what United need to try and find a way of breaking down. And it's disappointing and a little infuriating that they couldn't today, but it's not. Oxford won't be like that next week. There will be other teams later in the season who are, but we're not there yet. This was a dress rehearsal, and if things don't go wrong at a dress rehearsal, then I think the superstitious amongst you will be thinking the rest of the season is going to be a nightmare. Things went wrong today, so the rest of the season will not be a nightmare.
Yeah, this was the dress rehearsal where part of the scenery fell down and somebody forgot their shoes or their hat or whatever was making up their costume. Jono will be back with you in just a second. Cambridge United beaten 2-0 at Barnet. We'll head over to London Road in just a moment or two, but a couple of messages that we've had heading into is 81333. If you want to text us, CAM is how you need to start your messages. At BBC Cam Sport, that's our address on Twitter, and on WhatsApp 08000 321 333. Starting your messages, CAM. Joe says we definitely need to add in attacking areas ahead of the transfer deadline this afternoon. Has underlined that a Hadmi can't do it all by himself. Neil says, on the plus side, throwing in a shocker of a performance the week before the start of the season could act as a timely wake-up call. But on the minus side, basic defensive errors, lack of a cutting edge up front, and we've seen today that amongst the key factors, potentially these could suck us into the bottom four. We still look a couple of players short from having our squad complete. Let's hope lessons have been learned and will be applied next Saturday. And Derek says, well, that is easy. I'm just going to cut and paste the message that I sent earlier in the show for the full 90. It was abject. Pre-season inactivity from the U's, didn't make a chance. Communication of the back seven looked non-existent, and Jack Stevens was not commanding his area. Poor distribution as well. No outball or drive from midfield. I'm impressed that we've changed so many personnel and produced something that looked consistent with last year. Derek picking out these as the positives. Danny Andrew looked assured. Jordan Cousins looks a good player. And we offered more in 15 minutes of Fajiri Okunabire than we did in 75 minutes of Ahadme. A slow, dry pitch didn't help us as well. 81333 if you want to text us at BBC Cam Sport. That's our address on Twitter. WhatsApp 08000 321 333 with the text, and with WhatsApp you need to start your messages CAM. To Cambridge United beaten by 2-0. If you're only just joining us, Cambridge United with a disappointing afternoon. Our featured commentary game, the U's beaten by 2-0, naming a strong starting 11 as you would imagine with a week to go ahead of the season proper, but it didn't go to plan. Couple of sloppy goals from corners in the first half and a real lack of momentum in attacking areas. Mark Johnson at the high for us. Johnny, let's talk about some individuals. Let's start at the top end of the team. For Ahadme, I guess one of those afternoons where when it's not happening for the side in an attacking sense and you're in that lone striker role, it quite quickly becomes quite thankless.
It becomes a very long afternoon, doesn't it? And that's where you earn your corn if you're getting no support. I mean, at times he felt like he was in his own postcode. It was that was one of the more disappointing elements of a disappointing afternoon, I will say, because behind him, the three behind him with Kaikai, Lancaster, Brophy should have been able to get him some support, but he was left far too isolated and wasn't able to do anything with the supply that did come his way. He'll have better afternoons than that. Yeah, really frustrating for Ahadme in that obviously he'd have been wanting to build a bit of momentum ahead of the opening game. He's got a bit of a tussle to be in the side. I think we can say at this stage it's going to be either Ahadme or Okunabire who'll be leading the line against Oxford. With the players then in behind and the balance there, we had, as we saw often at the back end of last season, inverse wingers with James Brophy, who prior to a couple of months from the end of the season had spent his whole youth career playing on the left, but became really quite a key player on the right, really made that work. And so now with Kaikai having come in, as you mentioned in commentary, you've got two players in those inverse winger roles. Just talk us through that overall balance with Jack Lancaster in there as well. It didn't work today, and it should have worked, because that's the personnel that should work with that shape. And even inverse wingers, absolutely, those are the three you'd put in those positions. Kaikai looked short of match fitness, and I think that's probably because he is, and his late signing this season, or this pre-season, is something that will just need to work through. Brophy had moments when he really threatened down the right hand side, couldn't produce the end product, but showed some real skill in patches, particularly as the game went on. And Lancaster had his moments, but not enough of them. Generally that three was smothered by the four in midfield and the five behind them, so they didn't really get an inch in which to work. So the shape was right, the personnel was right, the performance wasn't.
That right side of the attack in the 4-2-3-1, as we said in the build-up, even if you lug James Brophy into the mix as another option, realistically beyond Brophy and Kaikai, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you'd be looking at Okunabire could play out there, Lancaster could play out there, Thomas could play out there, but pure natural options.
I wouldn't play any of them out there.
Well, exactly.
I wouldn't. It's a waste.
So
It's a waste.
In terms of pure natural options, that has to be an area, and actually it's no great surprise. I think Mark said last week he wanted two wingers. Well, one's come in the door with Kai. He presumably wants a matching one for the other side.
Yeah, he does. I'm sure he does. But no, I mean we've seen Thomas wasted out wide. Okunabira, he played on the left-hand side of a 3 at St Albans, and will probably not thank me for remembering it, because he might as well have not have done. It's not his position. Didn't look right there. They'd certainly go. I'm certainly aiming to bring a right-sided winger in who can hug that right flank and can cut in and be dangerous when he does so. So that'll give balance and he'll give options. And we've still left with the situation we had at the start of the afternoon, when we said, well, where are the goals going to come from? Which we said at the start of the promotion season and the season after that, but not last season, when we thought they'd be okay, and they weren't. One player missing today. Well, we mentioned Adam May, we mentioned Brandon Hornstrup missing for different reasons. Seiko Jana wasn't available; he was unwell.
Yeah, clearing that up. And of course, actually, I've overlooked Sekou Jana, but he would be another option. I suppose the question mark for him is whether he can take a big enough step from last season, in that, in all honesty, he was miles off it for the competitive games last season. He's had a promising pre-season, but it's quite a big leap to make. I wonder whether, in an ideal world, certainly if another winger comes in, that he's one that can head out on loan. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we've seen in pre-season he's shown flashes. Last season he had a nice first touch when he came off the bench, and that was it. So he's progressed from there over the summer, but I'm not sure he's progressed enough yet to put pressure on to warrant anything other than a place on the bench, and I don't think that's going to help him. He needs to be playing regularly, and he needs to be starting regularly, and I'm not sure at the moment that's going to be at United. Let's look at the other end of the team then. Clearly disappointing to concede twice from set plays, although I should imagine that Barnet are the sort of team that are well drilled in that respect. But you look at the back five that the U's named this afternoon, and the word that comes to mind is experience. Perhaps not so much for Liam Bennett and for Jack Stevens, certainly not for Bennett, but Ryan Bennett, Michael Morrison, Danny Andrew, knowing this league and this level inside out, you couldn't find three players with greater League One experience collectively, and that's what makes giving away sloppy goals from set plays all the more frustrating, I'm sure, from Mark Bonder's point of view. Yeah, I'm torn, really. I was torn between thinking, well, it's pre-season and they need to do a bit more work yet, and saying, well, it's only a week before the start of the season, and that defending at those two set pieces was absolutely appalling. And I'm plumping for that latter, because given the experience and given that those are that is the first choice back four, I'm going for that. That was abysmal defending at times. For those corners, it was shocking. And if that's repeated against and teams in League One, there are some that will pack the box at a set piece and cause all sorts of problems. Fleetwood will do it, Burton will do it, Shrewsbury will do it, and that's just off the top of my head without having done any research or thinking too hard about it. But that's three teams that will give United all sorts of problems, and they did last season. So if they can't defend better than that, it's going to be a long old season. But they're going to defend better than that, because that was unacceptable today. Can we just file it under aberration, in that I know over the first half of last season the U's had some horrible moments in defence, but largely once Ryan Bennett and Michael Morrison came on board, they really took big strides in that respect. Has it just been, and I don't really want to use this phrase, but has it just been a bad day at the office for the back four today? I think that's a fair comment, because there are voices strong enough in that dressing room to know and to say what they think about the defending for those set pieces. And it's not the centre halves who have to do all the defending at set plays. You bring everyone back into the area. United do pack the area with players, all of whom have a defensive role. So it's perhaps wrong and facile to pick out any of the back four, particularly for not defending well enough at the set piece. The team didn't defend well enough at two set pieces, and that was the issue. So yeah, there'll be voices in that dressing room, and this is where experience comes in, who will let the others know that
they don't believe that was good enough, because it wasn't. So sometimes it's those experienced players in the dressing room that will do more talking than the coaching after conceding goals like that. And I think this might be a case in point.
John, I will come back to you in just a second. Couple of texts and tweets. Matt says, I have concerns about our squad depth for the new season. We've allowed a lot of quality to head out the door, the likes of Lloyd Jones, Sam Smith. Have we done enough to replace those players? Thank you for that one. And Dan on Twitter says, absolutely awful from the U's this afternoon. On the basis of that game, we'll be lucky to finish 25th in League One this season. 81333 is the text message number at BBC Cam Sport. That's our address on Twitter and on WhatsApp. 08000 321 333. Frustration for Cambridge United, beaten by 2-0 at Barnet. Flat performance, sloppy goals conceded, disappointing in attack. Let's catch up with U's assistant Kevin Betsy, who's been having a chat with Mark Johnson. This is what Kevin thought of this afternoon's game.
Well, Kevin, it's not about results at this stage of the of pre-season necessarily, but still a frustrating afternoon.
Yeah, of course, no one likes to lose, and no one likes to have moments of performance levels where we know we can play so much better, and we have done in the past 4 or 5 weeks. So yes, we're disappointed today because we're competitive, we want to do well, we want to win, and but over the course of the 5 weeks of pre-season, the players have been outstanding, and how we performed in training and our application every single day, and how we've played in the matches has been really, really positive. Real togetherness around the group, real togetherness around the staff, and we're in a really good place. So if you think about it, where we've had one bad day in 40 days, if you like, for the pre-season, well, that's not too bad. But we won't settle for anything, and we'll be making sure that we can learn some really good lessons from today. But it's a different game because we've had no analysis of Barnet or anything like that. It's a different type of approach to the game, where we're very much looking for the physical outcomes that we're looking for. So no excuses. Fair play to Barnet. They did their game plan very well, and they're very effective, and they'll be a handful in their division. But over the course of the 5 weeks, we can be really pleased with how the group have applied.
I've seen some good things in pre-season from an attacking point of view, tempo, movement, passing, one-touch stuff, some great stuff. It seemed as if you were smothered today. Yeah,
today, obviously, it just wasn't to be in the final third. We got into some really good positions and good opportunities to show our quality, and the final action just wasn't there in the game. And, it's like I said, it's just one of those days where it wasn't going for us, and when it's not going for you, we have to learn to stay in the game and keep the score low, and then all of a sudden you build a bit of momentum, and the game can change. But when you're 2-0 down, in the first half, and it's early, then you're always chasing, and things get rushed and get rashed, and we just didn't show enough quality enough in the final third to really score a goal to bring the game even closer, and then get a bit more momentum. So yeah, it's overall for the 5 weeks, we're, as I said, really pleased and proud of how the group have applied. Real bonds together with the relationships they're building with each other, and how they've done in training. So we can't be more satisfied apart from today.
There'll be some irritated voices in the dressing room, not amongst the coaches, only amongst the coaches, but the players as well, about the goals that were conceded.
The players are professional footballers are extremely competitive. They want to win, and they set high standards, and so do the coaching staff. And it's we're disappointed because we conceded two set play goals, but that element of our work we have been leaving to the final week, and we've covered a lot of areas in all our sort of game plans and match play, but obviously this part we left a little bit towards the last week, and we really want to focus, and it's helped us now we've got a week to really make sure that we're bang on it with our set plays defensively.
Positives from today though?
Yes, of course. Positives are some really good minutes for players that we needed to. we got more minutes out of Jordan Cousins, who's coming back, who joined the group late, and he's positively getting really good fitness, and that's important. We saw Souley Kaikai, his first game today back, and there's some flashes of quality of him, and all round individual players know that their levels and know how well they've played over pre-season, and some did well today, and some they know they can do better, and as a group they'll improve, and we'll be ready to go next week.
And that's the key, isn't it? Next week is where it matters.
Of course, nothing. You go through pre-season unbeaten, and you end up, are really struggling in the early stages. Everyone knows it can work the other way around also, and like I said, this pre-season for us has been extremely positive. We're so happy with how the group have applied themselves, and the performances against Ipswich and Gillingham and Tottenham, Cardiff have been really, really good. So we just got to continue that going into the season.
Do you expect any more through the door before we start?
Ben and Bonds have been working really hard, as always, to looking at areas that we might be looking to improve on, and it's we've got till end of August to do something. So watch this space. Next week there might be something happening, as always, and I'm sure you'll be the first to know.
It's more about getting the right play rather than rushing it, though, isn't it?
Of course, what's really been impressive has been the clarity and what we're looking for in certain positions, and I think people can see that we've added real quality to the group this season, and it's exciting to see the level of players that we've been able to bring to the football club, and it's so positive. The training ground at the moment's looking amazing. The buildings have gone in. The season ticket sales have gone with the supporters. It's record numbers this season. So everything about the football club and what's going on and what Bonds has done here has been outstanding. And we just want to continue to improve and hopefully have a really good season and do better than we've done in the last couple of seasons.